Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Lao Ubaga. Kelvin Kang'ethe, wanted in the US for allegedly murdering his girlfriend, is claiming he was tortured and brutalized by the Kenyan police and prison authorities. He made the allegation as it emerged the murder suspect had fallen out with his lawyers, who have since withdrawn from the case. 2 weeks ago, Kang'ethe was rearrested and detained at Industrial Area Remand Prison after his dramatic escape from Muga police station following an earlier arrest. The case will be mentioned on Friday. National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula has assured Kenyans that Parliament won't be used by the executive to approve its plans without following due process, including debate by members of Parliament. Responding to the allegations raised by Minority Leader Opiyo Wandayi, Wetangula called on various parliamentary committees to carry out their duties without allowing any external interference in order to ensure transparency and target Kenyans directly. Wandayi claimed now the executive government aims to influence the Finance and National Planning Committee in the approval of the 2024-2025 financial year budget.
What the Constitution envisages is that the national government would simply bring proposals, but those proposals are supposed to be subjected to the departmental committees, which then would advise the Budget and Appropriations Committee.
That as long as I'm your speaker, this house cannot and will not be turned into a rubber stamp. And I want to encourage you that in the event you see any such traits, attempts to turn the house into a rubber stamp, the office of your speaker is open to you.
Wandayi's statement, however, led to a heated debate with Deputy Majority Leader Naomi Okoh and some UD MPs asking Wandayi to provide evidence of his allegations.
Our government is there to guide the nation. Our government is there to bring development. Our government is there as executive, and it is not there to dictate.
But we have not been coerced. We have not been forced by anyone to write these reports in any particular form. Therefore, what he says is not correct unless there are other committees where there has been any such recommendation.
EACC detectives have rearrested Kwale County's head of Treasury, Vincent Mbito, in connection with an ongoing corruption case involving the fraudulent acquisition of 3 million shillings from the devolved unit's funds. The suspect is being held at Mombasa Port Police Station, while a manhunt is currently underway for 2 other county officials identified as persons of interest in the case. Mbito, alongside 4 of his brothers, were arraigned before Mombasa court and charged with defrauding the Kwale County government 22 million shillings. They pleaded not guilty to all 5 charges and were each granted a 1 million shillings bond with 1 surety and an alternative cash bail of 500,000 shillings. The case has been scheduled for pre-trial on March 12th. And finally, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki has urged all 3 arms of government to join hands and fight corruption. Speaking in Mombasa, the CS stated that fighting graft cannot be successful without joint effort.
If there is one item that frustrates the realization of this constitution is corruption. Clearly an unconstitutional conduct, and it strikes at the heart of the ideals of the people of Kenya as expressed in the current constitution. It is anti-people, and it is an existential threat to the sustainability of Kenya as a modern democracy.
Chief Justice Martha Koome, on her part, said that the National Council on the Administration of Justice was ready to work with the police and public to ensure justice was served without the interference of corruption.
You need investigations which are properly done, you need prosecution which is properly done, and then also the court comes in to ensure that there is fair hearing which is expeditious. That is why we are emphasizing on interagency collaboration, cooperation and coordination. And also we need the public to come out and report, so it's a joint collaborative effort.
That's the News Wire. I'm Lao Ubaga.
.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Thank you very much, Eric, and it's good to be at the Situation Room.
Always a pleasure coming here. This is the most challenging interview panel in Kenya. You guys are very well informed, and as you can see, Charles today, very philosophical.
To be poor in this country is the greatest sin you can commit, not just from a legal perspective, but from life generally. It is very, very skewed.
We've just heard on the floor of Parliament, just most recently, a leader within the ODM saying that sisi ni ng'ombe is a baba.
Yeah.
Which means that you are willing to be milked dry. Hapo.
You cannot force me to believe. I'll give way. If it's land that I'm told to return to you, I will. Okay? Because the court has said so. But I'll continue saying, watu wamenirusha. That's all that I'm doing.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
If you go out of this country and come back the same person, then you have a problem. Buy land, 1 million. Put it there for 5 years. What's the purpose?
It'll have increased in value.
No, that's the thing. That's darkness. That's an eclipse. You don't do that.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person, or that all hustlers are poor. I've seen that conversation.
Tell us, who is a hustler?
Who's a hustler? Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work.
Corruption in Kenya is a political accusation. The people who are actually corrupt are not pointed fingers at.
Kenya is not free. Kenya imeshikwa na mateka. It's under siege.
Have you seen that lodge on Nyeri Road? Very high fence. You can't even
windows
sleep inside.
Up near the ceiling.
Yes. And if you walk there at midnight, you see bats the size of cows.
And when it rains, it doesn't rain on that building.
Yes.
When you're at All Saints and it's raining, it doesn't rain on that building.
The things people will believe.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people, and we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila that he's doing police of conmanship, and even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Na hii mambo utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Revenge is for children. It's for kids. When you grow up, you realize the best revenge you can take on somebody is to ignore them.
Now, I'm just new in politics. It is not everybody's cup of tea. That's why some people come in one term and that's it for them.
Political parties in this country do not have ideologies, whether luring or otherwise.
And that is the effect of corruption.
Any time an offense occurs anywhere in the country, it is the job of the Inspector General to look into it. Whether it's corruption, whether it's murder, whether it's petty, that is his job.
If we have chosen to be a corrupt nation, then we produce corrupt leaders. Everything then becomes chaotic that you cannot be able to.
It's critical that people pay taxes. But then taxation has to have a limit. When you start overtaxing people beyond certain limit, then this is now we call robbery with violence.
We are all struggling, but we don't show. If you're not doing well, shame on you. But you have to say, I'm broke and I'm struggling. We are not okay until everybody is okay.
We are pretending to have political parties. Why don't we just be honest? And we say, these are the Luyas, these are the Kambas, these are the Kikuyus, and we find ourselves in Kenya.
You know, with politics and leadership, no matter what you do, there will always be a complaint. There will always be the assumption that you're either stealing or you're not doing things right. As a leader, don't fear. If you know you're doing the right thing, you've thought about it, you've got an expert advice, do it, then understand later.
This country, we don't need prayers. Prayers is between you and God. Good governance and thinkers who care about the country and not their stomach.
That's what we need.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
This morning, traffic is moving smoothly everywhere across the city, and I'm assuming also in Mombasa and Nakuru and the other major towns. Mombasa Road into town is looking good. The Southern Bypass is all right. Kiambu Road is fine. Thika Superhighway is okay. Wayaki Way is okay. Eastern Bypass is fine. All roads are looking okay. It's raining, so just be careful on the road. It's been wet and you're not used to this kind of wet weather. You've gotten used to the dry one. So just be careful.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
After 6, good morning. It's the 28th day of February 2024, and February is not yet over. But tomorrow, it ends. How are you doing? Welcome to Wednesday. CT, Vipi mambo?
Mama zuri baba.
Mambo freshi.
Kabisa.
Very good.
Yes.
The rain.
No, this rain, you know, we need to repeat this again. El Nino is not rain, neither is it hot weather, neither is it strong winds. It's all of the above, but the connecting fiber is that it is erratic. You do not know when which will appear. Right now, we are experiencing some very torrential rains here in Nairobi. It's been raining up countries in Western Nyanza area. I'm told trees fell in Kiambu yesterday. Some even fell on vehicles.
What?
Some fell across the road. And these are huge trees. For trees to be uprooted, it means that rain was something else.
It was proper.
It was proper. So one needs to be careful during this period. One needs to be very, very careful. Even as you're driving, even as you're going about your business. With these heavy rains, one moment you may have had a road that you traveled on your way to work. And on your way back from work, that road has disappeared. So you need to be very, 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 very careful.
Hiya.
Yes.
It's actually, it's important to be careful. I just looked at how it just started pouring yesterday.
My friend, didn't it just pour?
Yeah, and you know how it just, one part of the city is raining, the other part isn't. At some point I was moving from Westlands towards Kilimani, and I get to Kilimani and I find it has drizzled here.
And you're shocked.
And all along the road from Westlands, I have not encountered any.
Not even a drop?
Not even a drop. And I find, okay, it had drizzled. No sooner had I settled down in Kilimani for a bit, I'm looking outside, it's dark.
Yes.
Kidogo. Rain. Heavy.
Like a nonsense.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not polite, that rain.
I check in, it's just...
No. It's heavy. And it's all over the place.
Yes.
Now that is El Nino for you.
That is it, huh?
Yes.
This is what we call it, huh?
This is what you call it. All of the above. Then you'll wake up in the morning and find the middle of the day, it's so hot you can't even think. And you'll think it'll continue. Give it a few minutes, you'll suddenly get very cold. I mean, it's but anyway, the weatherman told us that probably towards the end of February or the beginning of March is when we may have a reprieve. Yes.
A little bit.
A little bit, yes.
So my sweaters were laughing at me this morning when I went to pick a sweater.
Because you thought you had left us.
Umerudi?
Karibu sana.
Uko hapa?
We are with you.
And I was like, enyewe poleni. Si kwa ubaya. Mnaelewa hii maneno. Mnaelewa. Anyway, everybody, Ndu is not available to join us for the conversation this morning. She's a little bit under the weather. This weather we're talking about. But she's all right. Let her just have a conversation with her body. And then tomorrow, she will join us, God willing. Let me tell you what we'll be discussing today at 7 a.m. Kenya Power has been in the news recently. Kenya Power has gotten approval by the regulator to start billing some of its clients in dollars. Kenya Power has returned to profitability, recording a net profit in the last half of the last year. Kenya Power then needs to think about how do you expand, how do you make sure that it's efficient. The chairman of the board of Kenya Power is called Joy Brenda Masinde. She will be joining us at 7 a.m. Let's talk about Kenya Power. How do you return this publicly listed company to full profitability? How do you make this public utility efficient and effective? Everything. How do you make sure that our billing system is working? How do you make sure that everybody who needs to be connected to power gets a connection? How do you make sure that it's efficient and all the time? That we don't have these power blackouts. I don't know, monkeys touched what? The wind in Lake Turkana, it started blowing eastwards instead of westwards. All those stories. How do we make sure that Kenya Power stays profitable and efficient? Joy Brenda Masinde, the chairperson of the Kenya Power Company, 7 a.m. At 8 o'clock, we'll be joined by Andreas von Peleske. He is the Chief of Strategy at Naivas. Naivas Strategy Beyond 100. They have more than 100 Kikwetus, and these are the 100 stores across the country. So beyond the 100, what is the strategy? So the Chief of Strategy will come and tell us about the strategy. Yoni Sawa. At 9 o'clock, we'll have conversations with you. We'll open up the phone lines for you to come to join in, and let's hear what you have to say. 17 minutes after 6, we are live streaming, of course. Say hello to Eric, CT, Ednah, Iego, everybody else. Even Ndu, say hello to her wherever she is and wish her well. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
Nairobi, cold. Right now it's 16. It's going to rise to 23. That is not a hot Nairobi. We've seen Nairobi of 30 and 31 recently. Kakamega, cloudy at 18 right now. It's going to rise to 28. Mombasa, light rains, highs of 32 today. Kisumu, cloudy, mostly cloudy day, highs of 26 today. Malindi, cloudy, highs of 33 today. Nyeri, 16 currently, highs of 24 today. Nakuru, highs of 22 today. Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, highs of 33 today. Addis Ababa, highs of 25. Lagos, highs of 34. Mogadishu, highs of 33. Johannesburg, highs of 24. Kampala, highs of 27. Kinshasa, highs of 34. New York, highs of 14. London, 11 is a high. Paris, 12 is a high.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Wacha tusalimie watu ambaye iko wapi?
Iko mtandao.
Iko kwa mtandao, si ndio? Everybody, there are many who already logged in. So let's start with the early risers. Kenneth Bushnell said, morning trio, kindly invite Honorable Raila to the show. Yes, that's in the pipeline. George Gashuri says, good morning, Ndu City, Ednah and Eric. Greetings from Manchester and looking forward to a great show. Have a blessed day. Nicholas Aganya, you're number one. Robert Stump. Akwapo. Zeke, good morning. Dano Mwanza, good morning. Tony Mohoho, good morning to you, watching from Muthaiga, Regan. Rogers Nyange, good morning. Voi is tuned in. Voi mvua kwa wingi. John Odondi says, good morning, friends. I'm joining in from Kansas, where all of a sudden today, it's very cold. We hope the Situation Room will warm it up. Well, we hope so too. Dr. Venvik, good morning, Situation Room. Chudan Mombasa is tuned in. Good morning, team. We are ready for today's shows. That's Kennedy Anyona. Robert Bogo says, good morning from Mombasa. Sami Lidanya, good morning. Wonderful people. Blessed day from Mazeras. Lillian Rosso, good morning, Spice. Arthur Wanjama, where? Hey, where did Mombi go to? Edna Limfukuza. Edna, Mombi alienda wapi? Mombi is around. Okay. She's around. Owen Basire, what really happened to Shakahola? The gas explosion? This is Kenya. Yeah, very many questions unanswered. Robinson Kisero watching from Hong Kong. Good morning, guys. I look forward to candid, mature talks. Yes. Good morning, Erican City. It's poured heavily last night in Eldoret. Julius Songem says that. Eldoret, mvua mzito. Rickard Mariera, good morning, kings and queens. Kitengela iko locked. Kahogo Moirori, good morning, good people. Everybody who's online on YouTube, Karibu Sana, we see you and we appreciate you. Nixon Otieno, nice show, tuned in from Kanga. Good morning, Simon Odhiambo. Morning, brethren. Mbona mnalitesa hivi? Do something about your frequency in Migori. Nini mbaya kaka? Wacha hiyo tutaishughulikia. Umazi Mwachiti, hello. Nawapenda, always with you in silence. Karibu. Triza Mubea, asante sana for joining us. Mbarea Kariamburi. Morning, SpiceFM, wishing Ndu a quick recovery. We also acknowledge Jacqueline Awando, Aimba Olo, Monica Oile, Ondicho, Zablona Kafa, MCA, James Kimanzi, all of you tuned in on. What is this? It's Facebook. Karibuni sana, we appreciate your presence. City. The proverb, we're still in Benin.
We definitely are in Benin.
Okay.
When night falls, grass turns to people.
When night falls, grass turns to people. Interesting. Night falls, grass. People.
You know how it is. Suddenly, a bush starts moving in your direction. It either takes the shape of a dog or some wild animal. And it's the same bush you pass every day.
Yeah. Same. A very interesting one, that one. When night falls, grass turns to people. Okay. Headlines. Let me tell you what's in the front page of the Standard this morning. Ruto-Raila power plan. The president and his newfound ally were in Uganda to seek President Yoweri Museveni's nod on their quest for the AU Commission top seat on Monday. Hardly had Kenyans absorbed it than Ruto said in Homa Bay yesterday that it's all systems go in the push to get Raila to Addis Ababa. What are these issues? 1. Secret meeting between Raila and former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo birthed the compromise on Raila's exit strategy. 2. Raila and Ruto on a charm offensive mission to have the region field one candidate to avoid previous frustrations. 3. Gender CS Aisha Jumoa yesterday visited Raila to brief him on the progressive report on the 2/3 gender rule.
This is an interesting country that we live in. Hey!
The other headline, anguish for parents and learners. Tech challenges. Some are making double payments to the portal and not getting access to the selection site since it's non-responsive. This is a big
this thing is a problem.
Issue. This one will open up the phone lines at 9 a.m. Let's hear from the people who are completely frustrated. Let's hear the experience that you're going through. The ticker headlines on the Standard. SRC suffers blow in judge's car grant case. Homa Bay hosts trade meeting. More delays in Kenya oil dream. And Kipchoge eyes glory in Japan. Let me tell you about the nation. And then City will tell us about the Star and the Business Daily.
Definitely.
Exodus. Parents ditch academies. Hiya.
Do they now?
Hiya. There's, for example, a school in Bungoma, a public school in Bungoma has received 300 new learners since January. Thousands of parents across the country have transferred their children from expensive private institutions to public schools as they reevaluate their priorities, given the current hard economic times, piling more pressure on schools already facing serious staffing and infrastructure challenges. It is because of the money. People are like, education is very expensive. Let's just move our children to these public schools because we can afford. The other headline, friends again, Ruto, Raila, and the power of a picture. They have a photo here of President Ruto and Raila Odinga in Uganda. And it says the Kisozi pictures go beyond the African Union dream as projected by both President Ruto and his political arch-nemesis Raila Odinga. They tell the story of brilliant political calculations, patience that defies logic, and the fragile nature of partisan relationships. By accepting Raila into his fold and even propping him up for the AU chairmanship, Ruto has shifted the tectonic plates of the country's political landscape in his favor. He has presented himself as a true, forgiving and tolerant statesman who's willing to cross political lines and sheath his bayonet. Most importantly, he has, with one little effort, put an end to the siege mentality that governs Kenyan politics, diffusing anger and sectarian tensions and pointing the nation away from the chaos of its virulent dogmatism. They've given this coverage on pages 4 and 5.
Haven't they just?
They're saying he upper. Political calculations, top gear. Ticker headlines in The Nation. My 5-hour ordeal in the hands of robbers. On February 13th, Nelly Kosgei left her workplace at 7:30 p.m. for her home in Mirera, Naivasha. What followed was a harrowing encounter with 5 armed and masked, mean-looking men. We'll tell you that story and what it says. And then the other headline, here's how rogue county staff steal from public coffers. Anti-graft team reveals the dirty schemes used by errant officials in devolved units to siphon billions of taxpayers' cash. Okay. There's Azawa. What's in the Business Daily and the Star?
Well, the Business Daily, as always, is always full of interesting stories. They may not have a tail green corner, but they have news nonetheless. Universities all over the world struggle to raise money, but the problem is particularly pressing in Africa. Yes. Now, CMA allows firms to guard against share price fall in IPO. Regulator allows a hiring of a price stabilizing agent. New rule seeks to boost investor confidence.
Right.
I have no idea what they've just said, but then that's what they've said.
The intro and
They say the Capital Markets Authority has offered an opportunity for companies going public through an initial public offering IPO to support their share price for up to 30 days after listing. Companies going public via introduction of IPO, where they raise new capital by selling shares, have so far left their stock to trade based on supply and demand on the Nairobi Stock Exchange. This presents the risk of a sharp price fall soon after listing, exposing companies to negative publicity and reduced investor confidence.
Yeah, we see actually that happens in IPOs. So soon after that listing, when now the shares go public, it started at 5 bob. Safaricom, it goes to a bob.
It did. 50 cents.
Yeah.
So it's a deal like 50 cents.
It's a great deal. So now they're saying let's at least support it for at least 30 days.
Let's keep it at that one before it now takes the dip. If that is what it's going to do.
Okay.
SRC rejects push for 100,000 pension for ex-MPs. The Salaries and Remuneration Commission has rejected a proposal to raise the amount of money paid as pension to former MPs to 100,000 monthly, not annually.
Why do these people get a pension though? Okay, so they've worked for 5 years. Then we pay them a pension for the rest of their lives.
Remember, first of all, it had to be a 2-term MP. But since they're the ones who make the law, they just change the law and make sure it's a 1-term MP. So every person who has been in parliament has to be paid a pension.
Okay, let's even talk about the 10 years. All right. So you work for 10 years and you're pensionable for the rest of your life to a tune of even 100,000 shillings. Is that possible?
Yes, that's what they're saying, but that's a lot of money.
Crazy.
However, they were supposed to have been contributing to it.
Yeah, it's okay. They can contribute, but why are we contributing? You do your pension if you want.
That's the thing.
We will pay for the 10 years that you're working.
Yes.
Just like in a private company.
Let that 10 year be the package that you have because you've been paying for it anyway. Yeah, but you know how people, don't you?
Yeah. As now I work for the Standard Group for 10 years.
Then they pay you a pension for life.
So while I'm here, they're paying pension for me, all right?
Yes.
And I'm contributing to the pension, all right?
Yes.
But once I leave,
yes,
my relationship with the Standard ends.
Yes, that's what you think. As far as pension is concerned, it doesn't end. Well, at least if we were to go with what we're reading as an example. All right. KRA waives 209 billion fines interest for taxpayers. At least 227,071 taxpayers had been granted 209 billion waivers for accrued interest and penalties by the end of last week as tax pardon scheme by the Kenya Authority. Tax waiver ni mzuri.
That waiver, eh?
Bado ni mzuri. Easing inflation in US, UK lifts Kenya's diaspora dollar flow. Slowing inflationary pressure in advanced economies lifted the monthly flow of dollars from Kenyans living abroad to record levels, in part helping ease pressure of the shilling.
Nice.
Umepata hiyo, eh?
Nice.
New vehicle sales fall by 15% on tough economy. Meaning people buying new cars. The number which was there, it has reduced by 15%. Inakuwaga hivyo.
This is a new showroom. Zero
Ile
mileage.
Ambayo wewe unatoa juala.
Zero mileage. Juala.
Unatoa. Unajua hiyo? Mpya. Now let's look at the star, shall we? Top right-hand corner in teal green. They belong to the DCI, not me. This is a story about a gentleman by the name of Kelvin Kang'ethe, who has been accused of having murdered his girlfriend in the US of A.
Yes.
Okay, state wants him extradited to the US, where he's wanted for murder. Now, apparently, he and his lawyers have come to a disagreement. They've arrived at it. They've withdrawn from the case, and somehow things have stalled. That's just as a matter of mentioning. Okay, hurdles for big names as CA list as AG disowns bill. This one is interesting. Political leaders seeking reappointment to the controversial position of CS, Chief Administrative Secretaries, face new hurdles that may force President William Ruto to disappoint his friends. A new bill that seeks to anchor the position in law has triggered a controversy in the executive and has been disowned by the AG. We'll tell the story later. CS is, whoa, it's a tale of war, one after the other. LSK presidential candidates get ready for polls on Thursday. Tomorrow is the D-Day.
Kesho
ni kesho.
Is the one.
Asemaye leo.
Mwongo.
Basi. Okay. Bang in the middle of the paper. How Ruto-Raila deal could jolt bigwigs. For the first time, Raila has recognized Ruto as president after meeting Museveni in Uganda. Said, Ruto. President
Ruto.
President Ruto ya Kenya. Yes, okay. Na mimi people's president ya Kenya. All right. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy in Kenya for state visit. This is a picture of our president, Dr. William Ruto, and the Ethiopian Prime Minister baring all their teeth and smiling very, very broadly.
It's a lovely photo.
It's a nice, very nice picture. They are very happy to see each other. These people let's take the view that they get along well, shall we? Hapo, you and your headline.
Hivyo umefika hapo.
Yes.
All right, let's take a look at traffic. 8 is 27 minutes to 7. Let's see what the roads look like, and then we shall be telling you the stories in greater detail.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
I've got a plan that covers my car so well that even the traffic honks with approval.
ICEA Lion has a plan for everyone. Talk to us today for a plan that's right for you. Or visit icealion.co.ke. ICEA Lion. What's your plan?
Thika Superhighway has started doing the thing at Muthaiga Interchange, and you know that. So it's stretching all the way past KCA University. It's starting to slow down, but it's moving. Mombasa Road is all right. South Sea is busy. Nyayo Stadium Roundabout is busy, but it's moving as well. Southern Bypass, there's some issue happening as you approach Kikuyu. And this is after the Dagoretti Market Junction. This is heading towards Mombasa Road, but it's all moving. Ngong Road is okay. Kiambu Road is okay for now. Thika Superhighway, I've just said, is bad. The roads along Eastlands are not looking bad. Let's see how they'll be looking like in about an hour. Shall we?
Yes, we shall.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings
All right.
Done right.
Let's look at this main story in the Standard today, which is talking about anguish of parents. The pain and frustration of students applying for university and college slots following persistent delays and system hiccups that are now threatening selection of dream courses of thousands of last year's KCSE candidates. The Standard has established that even after Education CS Ezekiel Machogu gave an assurance to resolve the glitches, many students are still unable to successfully submit their applications. In some cases, students and parents are paying 1,500 application fee was not verifiable, while in other cases they had made double payments. By last evening, only a few interviewed students had successfully made payments or prompted validation through the alternative code that was unveiled by Machogu. Remember that one that he gave, *222#. Applicants whose payments are experiencing unusual delays are encouraged to use the USSD code *222# to confirm their payments or trigger validation. That's what Machogu has said the day before yesterday. A spot check on the website, however, indicated non-responsiveness as the portal delayed to load to the application page. As in, you just go to the portal. You need to get to the application page. Not going. Not going. Not going. The chaos has thrown the admission process into disarray, leaving students frustrated. Some parents who had incurred double payments also questioned whether there would be refunds. On Monday, Machogu directed KUSPS, that is the Kenya Universities and Colleges Central Placement Services, to extend the application by an extra week to allow those who are yet to apply. Sources have told the Standard that the chaos in application has been largely occasioned by the operations of eCitizen, frustrating payments and verification of the same. Interviews with dozens of parents and students trying to gain access of the KUPS portal registered frustration and long waits. This one, I do not. So, once you get onto the eCitizen, eCitizen is a door that leads you into the KUPS platform. So why KUPS platform is not working is not because of eCitizen, surely. It's because the KUPS platform is not working. And this is a serious problem that keeps on happening. I mean, it's just once, twice, thrice, day 1, day 2, day 3. Thousands of people are just talking about their frustration every day. And all we're saying is we are setting up a task force, a team, to look at this. We're extending the deadline. We're going to look at the technical issues. For example, there's a case here of Derek Shikanga, who runs a cyber cafe in Kakamega. He said he had encountered such challenges where the money paid through eCitizen did not reflect in the portal and the cost applied for. So you see that whole issue we were talking to the eCitizen guy the other day. And it was about are you educating the users on how to actually properly key in the money that you're putting in? Because once you put in, it goes in and it matches. It matches. This is CT Muga. He is paying not for the registration of motor vehicle. He's not paying to KRA. He's not paying to enter, what's that national park in Kisumu again? Impala Park. He's not paying. He is paying for KUPS. Right? So you need to there's how you pay towards KUPS, and this thing knows that you're paying towards KUPS. Are users sufficiently alerted on this? Juma Ya, a resident of Ganze, has been camping at Huduma Center in Kilifi Town for 3 days.
3 days, man.
Trying to apply for his daughter who wants to join Moi University for a degree in English and Literature. Okay? Come from Ganze, went to Kilifi Town, camping there 3 days.
But it's not around the corner.
It is far.
It is not around the corner.
He paid 1,500 through eCitizen last Friday at a cyber cafe, but the KUPS system notified him that there could have been an error. Yaya fears his daughter's dream could go up in smoke due to KUPS application hitches. The situation is worse in rural areas of Taita Taveta and Kilifi counties due to poor network coverage. This is forcing most parents and the students to dig deeper into their pockets to seek services in Huduma centers in Kilifi Town. James Kengori, a cyber cafe operator in Kilifi, reported booming business, saying he operates until late hours. Students and parents are desperate. Some are paying us extra money to stay late into the night. It is good business for us, but also very bad to subject students to this kind of suffering. Wilson Muilo, who was visibly frustrated, said he was depending on his parents to give him money for the internet. My parents are telling me to abandon the exercise because it's becoming too expensive. They gave me 1,500. I paid to e-citizen. I did not receive notification for a complete transaction. They have told me they can't afford it again. Tulikupatia 1,500.
Yeah.
You didn't go through.
Yeah.
Sasa wataka nini? Hamna pesa bana, wewe chana.
This has to be sorted out.
Chuo kikuu si lazima.
No, that is not something you should tell anyone.
No.
If the person is qualified, why then do you go around telling them nasty things like that?
You see, this is now a parent who is looking at their child and they're like, oh, I don't have any more money. The 1,500 I gave you, that's all I had. Now you're asking me for money so that you can buy bundles, so that you can then, you're asking then you pay again to Coops. How do I help you?
Should I?
Yeah, this is a big issue. It's a big one. We'll open up the phone lines at 9 o'clock. Let's hear what people are going through. It's a very bad one. Tell us a story, Siri.
Well, I am looking at several stories, but let me look at the one. It's one here. It's the one I want to look at. The Salaries and Remuneration Commission. This is how the story goes. Yeah? The SRC has rejected a proposal to increase the amount of money paid as pensions to former MPs. An increase. They're already being paid. Okay? It's the increase. The CRE's chief executive, Ann Gitao, said in a memorandum to the National Assembly that pension is an employment benefit and therefore falls within the Commission's mandate. In view of the ongoing, it is our considered view that the legislative proposal to review the pension benefits of state officers in Parliament infringes on SRC's mandate.
Yes.
Okay, any public institution that desires to have remuneration and benefits of its state officers, including pensions, reviewed, is required to submit a request in writing to the SRC, providing, among others, justification for the request and confirmation of availability of funds for the proposed review. Okay? And the story goes on and on.
And on.
I never cease to marvel at how our elected leaders, well, let me rephrase it, the appetite our elected leaders have for always getting more and more and more money and providing less and less service. It's something that I find fascinating. Yes. That gap between demanding more money and providing service just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing.
I don't understand. So they want the pension raised to 100,000 shillings.
By another 100,000 shillings.
Is it by another 100 or raised to?
By another 100. It's an increase. They want it added.
How much do they get now? So every month, just because we gave you a job to go and serve in Parliament and we paid you for those 10 years, we also now give you a lifetime pension.
Yes.
And you want it to be more because, hard economic times and, campaigning and all these stories. Come on.
This is the thing. Right now, only MPs who have had 2 terms, as we said, get a lump sum of 7 million shillings. And before tax, with over 30%, they get a monthly pension of 118,000.
So, at the end of the 2 terms, we give you a lump sum of how much?
7M.
7M.
Yes.
And then thereafter, we'll be giving you 100 and how many?
18.
118,000 every month.
Yes. Ad infinitum.
Until you die.
Well, yes, just, yeah.
I do not get that. I don't get it.
You see.
Okay, so let me ask. The people who serve in these other positions, let's say you've been appointed as a CEO in a state corporation, okay? The term is 3 years.
Yes.
Renewable ones for another 3 years. Once that CEO serves for those 6 years, are they also eligible to this kind of pension bonus?
They most definitely are not.
Or if you serve in the board of a parastatal, because we're now dealing just in the public sector, If you serve in the board of a parastatal, and you have that holds
the Parliamentary Service Commission, are you allowed such a
members of staff of Parliament? Those ones are permanent and pensionable.
Yes, they are.
But maybe there are some who are on contract. Do they also get the same kind of benefits?
I don't think so. I don't think so. If you read this article, what it tells you is that there are some MPs. There's one example that is given of someone who served between July 1984 and January 2001. He's entitled to a pension, but the monthly pension amounts to less than 100,000 shillings. Okay?
Who's this?
They don't mention the name.
An MP who served
between
between
160 MPs who retired between that period. Okay? And there are also about 130 widows and widowers. They are the ones who earn this sort of money. Now, the bill is seeking to ensure that, irrespective of when you actually left Parliament, but when I pay your pesa, the pension is already being received. Seti our party pesa, wanapata, wanataka nyongeza.
Yeah. I already have a problem with the reasoning behind that pension.
Me, the very concept.
It's an elective position.
Yes, it is an elective
position. You seek to be elected, to serve in the public.
Yes.
Until people renew your term every 5 years.
Yes.
Okay? They can renew it ad infinitum. So let's say you served us very well and you worked for those 10 years. Okay? Are you getting? So, does Kivutha Kibwana, for example, get a pension because he served as governor of Makueni for 2 terms?
I don't think so.
And I'm talking about Kivutha Kibwana because specifically he has actually talked about him and his pensions. He served at the University of Nairobi for many years. He left just before he had attained retirement age. Didn't qualify for pension.
So pension.
He served as a member of parliament. Didn't qualify for pension. He served as governor for 2 terms. Does he get pension?
I don't think so.
Imagine.
Governors don't have that. So,
why MP is getting a pension?
No, but MPs are the ones who make this law. They can decide whether they're getting paid or not. I mean, here they are. They know they have the advantage. And that's precisely what they're doing. Taking advantage of the position that they have.
Story in The Nation. Thousands of parents have transferred their children from private schools to public ones to navigate the hard economic times. The Nation can reveal. Spot checks on public schools show unusually huge numbers of students who transferred in January from private schools despite the challenges that the public institutions face, like poor and inadequate infrastructure and understaffing. Managements of private schools who spoke to The Nation also confirmed that parents owe these institutions millions of shillings and that many of them are on payment plans. Although they denied the flight from their schools, the data from public schools tells a different story. In just 2 months, Bungoma DEB Primary School has received over 300 new learners, transferring from other schools. About 200 of these have come from private institutions, popularly referred to as academies. Tobias Hisa, the school's head teacher, revealed that the surge in enrollment has placed a considerable burden on the school's infrastructure and resources. The school, with an initial enrollment of 4,391 students, is now experiencing overcrowded classrooms and teachers being stretched thin to accommodate the sudden increase. See, so because of the harsh economic times, private school, and here we're not even talking about the more expensive private schools. We're just talking about
private schools.
Private schools,
which are just a little pricier.
You pay school fees.
Yes.
You see, in public primary schools, the tuition is free, the teachers are free, and so you only pay the entry is free.
Yeah.
In a public school, all those things are costs, so you pay. Now, people are removing their children and transferring them from those private schools to these public schools. Bear in mind that they are taking the children and paying that amount of money because they are looking at the quality of education.
Yes.
They are looking at the distance to the school and many other factors.
And now?
And now they're saying all those factors don't matter anymore.
They don't have the money.
I just cannot afford to take this child to this school
it's as simple
anymore.
As that.
It is.
You know, the indicators that times are really tough just keep piling up. Because we're talking about now parents now taking their children to school. I'm going to look at the Kenyan Bureau of Statistics to understand and know how many Kenyans are guaranteed that they will sleep without a meal every day. And how the numbers are rising. The numbers are rising. The point is, the situation in this country is really terrible. We've said it very often to the point where it sounds like it's the normal thing to say it's terrible.
Yeah.
But it is.
Yeah.
It is. It most definitely is.
It just sounds like, it's one of those things that you keep saying.
Yes.
There's a story that I read in the headlines, still in the Nation. It's on page 3 today. It talks about Naivasha resident Nelly Kosgei, who has given a harrowing account of her ordeal at the hands of robbers who stormed her home, stayed there for more than 5 hours, smoking and eating before making away with property of unknown value. Imagine, in the middle of the night. Her revelations come amid a surge in violent robbery in Naivasha that has attracted the attention of top security officials. 2 weeks ago, on February 13th, Kosgei left her workplace at 7:30 p.m. for her home in Mirera, Naivasha. She called the security guard at her home, informing him that she was on her way so that he could open the gate for her. Once inside her compound, she parked her car, entered the main house carrying her laptop, mobile phone and car keys. Miss Kosgei told the Nation that she had no inkling at this point of what lay in store. I was hungry and I proceeded to warm some food, which had been prepared by my cousin. Before I could start eating, however, I decided to check on my 7-year-old daughter, who was still awake. That was when the robbers stormed in. I heard a knock at the door, assumed it was the security guard since we were the only 3 people in the compound. Suddenly, 5 armed men wearing what looked like police uniforms forcefully gained entry into the house and ordered me to lie down. I work 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. shifts. My daughter was in the company of her elder cousin at home as my house manager was away. The robbers ordered my security guard to pretend that he was unwell to dupe me into opening my front door. Imagine my shock to come face to face with armed, masked, mean-looking men at my door. They ordered me to lie down. I complied. Her security guard, whose hands had been tied together, was also ordered to join her on the floor. The men claimed they were detectives investigating allegations of fraud against her. She said that she then proceeded to the children's bedroom, dragged them out, and ordered them to lie down on the floor. At this time, Ms. Kosgei said she was pleading with her assailants to let the children go. The robbers ordered the children to enter one of the bedrooms where they were locked up before the criminals started ransacking the house looking for money. They took 2 TV sets, 2 laptops, 4 mobile phones, and assorted items. They also took some money and ordered her to secure loans from mobile phone apps. One was given the job to keep watch over us, while the rest ransacked different rooms. They told me they wanted money and some documents from me, but I failed to disclose which ones. No, they failed to disclose which ones. I tried in vain to plead with them to spare us. They refused. The men later took Kosgei to the master bedroom and told her that if they would only release her once she gave them 250,000 shillings. She realized at that moment how hostile they were and would become should she fail to meet their demands. They were in the house from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. All that time.
That's an ordeal, all right.
That, according to her, the armed men never disclosed which police station they had been sent from, but insisted that they were conducting an investigation. They even referred to each other as a Fande. 4 of the men were in uniform. 1 was in civilian. Kosgei recalled a moment when her phone rang and she was ordered to speak normally with the criminals threatening to kill her should she attempt to raise the alarm. At one point, I requested to be taken to the washroom. I was escorted by one of the men. When we came back, we found the rest smoking and eating some food from the fridge. They were all over the living room, making calls, laughing loudly. Her 5 hours of torment ended when the robbers demanded her car keys. They dismantled the car alarm and they fled. After we were sure that they had gone, we sought help from the neighbors. We braved ourselves to walk in the dark and managed to call my father, who sought help from the neighboring police post. It was traumatizing. My worry was that since they were smoking, they could have lit a fire and left us inside to burn to death. Can you imagine, from 8 to 2 a.m.?
They'd been case in that place for a while. And they probably knew if she says she comes home at a certain hour, somebody had known this lady comes home at a certain hour, she comes home alone, and she was waited for.
Imagine you're just there, you have your 7-year-old child, you have your cousin, and you can imagine now for her as a woman, when they say, let's go to the master bedroom. The number of thoughts that cross your mind.
But what I find strange, though, is the details of what they wanted. That's why I came to the conclusion they must have known what they wanted from her, having an idea of how much money she had. Yes. Because it's unlikely that someone's going to enter a house to rob you if they have absolutely no clue what is in your house. If they have absolutely no clue what they might meet there. No. They must have some idea. So somebody must have told them about your house. Somebody must have told them how you live. They must have known that you live alone. Yes. With your children.
This is one of those stories that you look at and you're like, okay. If this woman was told that police have shot and extrajudicially killed the 5 men who she suspects or are suspected to have been the ones behind this thing, and even she goes and confirms that they're the ones, you think she'll say, oh no, you should have gone through the, follow the due process? Do you think such a person would say, okay, there's extrajudicial killings?
No. You know what is strange though? Every time you hear stories coming out of Naivasha, they get more and more bizarre. There's a story about some 2 ladies who were arguing after a football match, and one of them pushed the other. This is Karagita. Okay? And the lady died. Fell down, hit her head, taken to hospital, she died.
Who tell us that story?
Police in Naivasha investigated an incident in which a row between 2 football games, a row over a football game which left one woman dead and another in custody. The incident in Karagita Estate, 15 kilometers from Naivasha town, occurred after the 2 women fell out over the match they were watching, and this leading to a fight. The suspect allegedly pushed the other, who crashed on the floor and was taken to hospital, where she was pronounced dead as the suspect presented herself to the police. Trouble started over a group of soccer enthusiasts met in a local bar to watch the ongoing EPL games. Simple. A witness, Boothia, said the 2 women fell out after one of their teams scored, leading to an argument. The suspect accused the deceased of over-celebrating, and this led to an altercation in which the latter was pushed and fell to the ground. Football.
Watching a game, team scores,
which means the other person was in the team that had been. Yeah, saying a push, not a punch, push. Falls off the floor, hits her head on the floor, and that's the end. Clearly.
So what are police investigating? Whether there was maybe there was another story behind it, maybe there was ulterior motive.
It began earlier.
Maybe this was just an opportunity that presented itself.
Yes, because you could argue it's not premeditated. They were just arguing and she pushed her. It happens. I say, no, let's find out if it's really it. Or maybe the other things that have been happening and we didn't know. Yes.
Good.
No, this isn't pleasant. It's not pleasant at all. The thing that I find interesting, let me read for you the reactions that the Star has regarding the Raila-Ruto pact, as they call it.
Right.
President William Ruto. I told you we planned so that nobody is a loser, and you didn't believe me. Now we are moving in the right direction, and we pray that it sails through. Homa Bay Governor Gladys Wanga. We are in support of you holding the hand of our leader Raila for AU chairmanship. We stand behind Raila and everyone who supports his candidature. Robert Alai, Kileleshu MCA. If Baba is not in the race in 2027, given between Kalonzo and Ruto, ODM supporters will easily go to Ruto.
Why?
It doesn't explain, just says that.
I think I saw that tweet by Robert Alai. He says ODM supporters don't trust Kalonzo.
Who do they trust?
They would rather go for Ruto.
Maybe he's one of them. He was talking about himself, but decided he should speak in the plural. Gujiri Wambugu, ex-Nyeri MP. We said it was good for the old man to go to AU. Caleb Amesi is about MP. Why are people so mad? Panicking and running helter-skelter when Baba is seeking a job. You always want to see him, you always want to see Baba jobless in the streets, engulfed in tear gas.
Hey, there are many people who will actually, be left destitute by Raila's exit from politics, from local politics. Just remember recently when he was in Mombasa and the conversation for that entire week when they had the ODM conversations at the coast. And the conversation that entire week was, Baba, you must be on the ballot. Baba, you must lead us. Baba, you cannot exit this stage right now.
Now?
He was just sitting there looking at them thinking, nyinyi hamjui.
Ile mpango nimepanga?
Nyinyi hamjui. Oja. Mawingu yametanda. Tsunami inakuja. Tsunami came.
And here we are.
7 a.m. Good morning.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is the news wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. Police in Embu have impounded 1,500 crates of suspected counterfeit beer under the brand of gold in a store camouflaged as a dairy store and cooling plant at Kianjakoma Market. County Commissioner Jacob Bohr says that they suspect the beer has been transported from another county, adding that a multi-agency team is on high alert. Bohr adds that a manhunt has also been launched against the main suspect who escaped when police officers arrived following a tip-off from members of the public. National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula has assured Kenyans that Parliament won't be used by the executive to approve its plans without following due process. Responding to the allegations raised by Minority Leader Opiyo Wandayi, Wetangula called on various parliamentary committees to carry out their duties without allowing any interference to ensure transparency and target Kenyans directly. Wandayi claimed that the executive government aims to influence the Finance and National Planning Committee in the approval of the 2024-2025 financial year budget.
What the Constitution envisages is that the national government would simply bring proposals, but those proposals are supposed to be subjected to the departmental committees, which then would advise the Budget and Appropriations Committee.
That as long as I'm your speaker, this house cannot and will not be turned into a rubber stamp. And I want to encourage you that in the event you see any such traits, attempts to turn the house into a rubber stamp, the office of your speaker is open to you.
Wandayi's statement, however, led to a heated debate with Deputy Majority Leader Naomi Wako and some UDA MPs asking Wandayi to provide evidence of the allegations.
Our government is there to guide the nation. Our government is there to bring development. Our government is there as executive, and it is not there to dictate.
But we have not been coerced. We have not been forced by anyone to write these reports in any particular form. Therefore, what he says is not correct unless there are other committees where there has been any such recommendation.
The Senate has temporarily stopped the implementation of the urban city regeneration plan that is being undertaken by the Nairobi County government until all the issues raised by the residents of the affected estates are addressed. The Road, Transportation and Housing Committee gave the orders to allow the Senate to deal with a petition by residents of 3 estates of Ofafa, Jericho, Lumumba and Maringo, which have been pending before the Senate for over a year now. Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja has, however, maintained that the estates belong to the county government despite the fact that they have no title deeds.
All land held by the nation is held under the Cabinet Secretary of the National Treasury. His office has been incorporated so that he can hold a title for national government. In counties, the county government itself in its entirety is a corporate entity according to the Constitution. And so we've even gotten further advice from the Attorney General, from our own county attorney, on how to move ahead. When we need a title, we do what we call joint ventures. You enter into a joint venture agreement with the developer, you value the land, they build the houses, they use their money. We're not charging, we're not using taxpayers of Nairobi money in terms of appropriation.
He added that there is no alleged petition as there's been no land dispute case filed against the land that is being occupied by the said houses in the affected areas.
By virtue of having stayed in our council houses, you will own a house and pay service charge. That is what we've passed. We've gone through our processes in the county, the processes in the law. There's no disputed land, Senator Ombaso was referring to, and there's no dispute in court. I have not seen any dispute. There are questions about an agreement. I have never seen. The county says there is no such agreement. You've asked for urban renewal plans. We sent them in July. We have resent them today. Chair, what would you like?
That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
Okay, we know what happens around this time on all the major roads, especially Thika Superhighway. It's busy. Kiambu Road is moving smoothly this morning. Mombasa Road is all right. Langata Road, Ngong Road is busy as you get towards town. Also, the area around Kitengela, there's a lot of traffic as you head towards Nairobi. Kiambu Road, I've just said, is fine. And then roads along Eastlands are looking all right. Langata Road heading into Expressway into Nyayo Stadium is also looking okay. If there's any major incident that we need to talk about, well, apart from what happens on Thika Superhighway every morning, let us know. Tag us on X, SpiceFM KE.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Welcome to Wednesday. If you're just joining us, thank you very much for tuning in to The Situation Room on SpiceFM, on KTN Home, live streaming the show on YouTube and Facebook. We have people watching in from across the globe. Now, talking about across the globe, 35 markets in Africa, 4 markets out of Africa. That's EcoBank's network. They say we are not a group of banks. We are a banking group. One bank in all these markets, 35 in Africa. What are those countries outside Africa?
Well, there's France.
There's France.
There's the Emirates. There's China. There's UK.
Those ones.
Those ones.
Okay. And across Africa, very many. So, for example, Ndu runs a business of import-export. She's a conglomerate. She imports stuff from Nigeria and sells into Kenya. And she exports stuff from Kenya and sells to Nigeria. So, of course, let's talk about the import bit. She then has suppliers in Nigeria. She has an EcoBank account, business account in Kenya. She is paid by her customers in Kenya shillings. She negotiates prices in Nigeria with her suppliers in Nigerian? Naira. Now, when she's paying her suppliers, now that her bank here is in shillings and those guys are there, they have an EcoBank account in Naira, what does she do? Does she first of all buy the Naira, then send Naira? Does she convert dollar, then send to dollar, then they convert dollar into Naira? All those things. EcoBank says, don't worry. Get onto the platform. In fact, don't even need to walk into a branch. Get onto the EcoBank platform. It's robust enough to do the seamless conversions and transfers into the accounts. And they don't have to do. There are some banks where the money comes first, it sits for some hours. So you are the treasury guys at the bank are thinking, hasa huyu CT pesa yake tumuuzie dola Naira 95 or 96 or 1,000. No. This one is robust. It's immediate. It reflects there and then. It's EcoBank to EcoBank, Kenya to Nigeria, shilling to Naira. Seamless. EcoBank. A better you. A better Africa. Better way. Better Africa. Our next guest is going to talk to us about Better Kenya and Kenya Power. This is the chairman of Kenya Power Board, Joy Brenda Masinde. Good morning.
Good morning, Ari.
Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Thank you for having me.
Siti, you know, when I was speaking to Joy yesterday, and she was like, okay, so your name, your proper title. She's like, Eric, don't even worry yourself about calling me chair lady, chairwoman, chairperson. Just say chairman, okay? So chairman, karibu.
Asante sana.
People are already asking me on social media after you posted it. Hi, chairman. Sure, Eric.
I'm a woman. I'm a chairman.
Oh, so, the woman part is chairman.
The woman part covers the man.
All right. Okay. Siti,
Yes, please.
Please welcome the chairman to the Situation Room with the day's proverb.
Our proverbs for the whole of this week come from the country of Benin. It's in West Africa. It's actually next to Togo, whose capital Lome is where Ecobank and its headquarters are ensconced, right there. So they're neighbors. Okay, it's a very interesting country. Once upon a time, for those of you who love history, it was called Dahomey. Just like Burkina Faso was once upon a time called Upper Volta, after the Volta River. But that's history. Currently, it is Benin. And the proverb, when night falls, grass turns to people.
When night falls, grass turns to people.
Yeah.
That sounds like it could be true on Kenyan roads. When it rains, raindrops turn into vitzes because all of a sudden traffic sprouts from nowhere. That's a good one.
You're speaking to the chairman of Kenya Power. When darkness falls, grass turns to people. What's your interpretation of this one?
Yeah, because there's some characters who, unless there's the cover of darkness, they do not appear. I come from some parts in this country where at night is where you hear a lot of activities of people keeping fit.
Outdoors.
So there are some fellows who are nocturnal. Unless there is the cover of darkness, you do not see them or they do not appear. So that's what I was saying, even for Kenyan roads, when it rains, raindrops turn into little Daihatsu mirrors.
Hey. So, you've been the chair of Kenya Power for what now? About a year and a half?
Yes, about a year.
Right.
So this is my second year as chairman.
You joined the institution that has a monopoly on distribution of power across the country.
That is correct.
You joined an institution that's listed on the Nairobi Securities Exchange.
Yes.
An institution that had previously had some run-ins between the board, the management. People joined the board. People voluntarily left the board and said, "Hii hapa
kimeumana.
Siwezani. Siwezi." What's happening? What is it about that organization that was leading to all those issues?
Okay, so
what did you find?
First and foremost, one thing that I found is that Kenya Power is not really a monopoly. Let us say it's the majority player, but it's not really a monopoly because 1996 we were a monopoly. Then they decided to unbundle. So they broke away all the various companies in the energy sector. So from Kenya Power, you birthed KenGen, you birthed Ketraco, you birthed GDC, you birthed all these other sector players that we have. And then on top of it, they gave us a regulator. We have EPRA. And
this
then
is 2006.
No, in 1996. That's when the first
idea was
came off here with KenGen. So now, fast forward, we've come into a place, EPRA actually, on a regular, every single month, is registering more and more people who want to get into distribution. So there are people who are doing large developments, who want to distribute their own power. There's some sections of the country where this has started. So we are not quite a monopoly, but we are still the major player in the power distribution business.
Okay.
But what did I find? A bit of cacophonics, I must admit, because what happened, there's a little bit of discord between the previous board and the management. There was plenty of drama. People had been sent home, but they were not really sacked. So there were people who were acting. So the guys who were acting are wondering, will we ever be confirmed? The guys who were at home are wondering, will we ever come back? And then in the process, there was a regime change. Regime change comes with change of what can be changed. And that's how some of us found ourselves there, because now out with the old, in with the new. And I think one of the things the board I was serving in was faced with was we have a 10,000 strong workforce that was seriously demotivated. We had a management that was on tenterhooks, was suspicious of everything that board was trying to do. Everything was deemed to be yet another trap, yet another. So it's been a year of building relationships, of building trust, of trying to just, bring back a healthy equilibrium, trying to build morale. So it's been a year basically of plenty of relationship building. That's what I would say. But we are at a much better place now.
What was it that was causing this rift between the boards and management and staff?
It's a little bit of everything. I don't want to really cast aspersions because I was not there. So everything I'm saying is basically hearsay from what water cooler discussions and what you've heard.
And
so I
looking at
cannot be cross-examined on any of this. But from those who were there at the time, it seemed like there was a narrative that was driven that there was a lot of corruption and a lot of theft. And so boards were coming in with this attitude of, it's a new broom, I'm going to sweep everything. So everybody who came was new broom trying to sweep everything. And so everything was cross-checked and rechecked again. There was the task force that also came in, and also they were looking for this smoking gun and this, the fingers in the cookie jar. And so because of that sort of environment, everybody now retreats into a defensive cocoon. So you've got everybody trying to preserve themselves. There's tales of war, of people walking around with heavy kabutis in the boot and 1 million shillings and the number, telling the wife, this one here, if you hear I'm arrested, there's 2 million, this is the number of the lawyer, I'll tell you which police station I'm going. So people were living a very... Kenya Power was a crime scene at the time. So there was a lot of discord. There was a bit of political interference as well, because, of course, the nature of our business is that government is the largest shareholder. They have a say in who gets on the boards. So there are times also when you're sent with instructions to go and try and do 1, 2, 3 things. So, like I said, they cannot be cross-examined on the same. But when we were wondering, how did you guys get here? Those were the tales of war that we were given.
You know what I find fascinating is the role that Kenya Power plays in this economy. If I say huge, I'm understating it. And the one thing this country doesn't lack is appropriate human resource. And yet, in the previous regime, we were entertained on a regular basis with the goings on at Kenya Power. And yet, the problems that one felt Kenya Power was supposed to sort out and solve for the citizenry, well, we kept being told they were being solved, but when you're told a problem has been solved and it's still there, then you wonder what it is that they're actually solving. Because what you know as the problem persists. So you take the view that perhaps they have a different understanding of solving the problem. But then here we are now, we are in the present.
Yes.
And we are looking to the future. Now, the board that you chair, I'm sure, has wonderful plans for the even more wonderful people of Kenya. And there are things that we should be cheering, chief of which is the cost of power. And certain, we had the MD here, a very eloquent gentleman, who explained to us at great length how it is that this thing works. And from our discussion, what came out was, for over the years, what Kenya Power seems to have done is, in the process of transmitting power, they choose the longest, most tortuous route.
Oh, yes. When MD starts talking about Leangalani to Suswatu.
Yes.
So you get to a place where you're like, I'm still in Kenya.
Yes, and you're listening. If you know the area, you can actually see. And you're wondering, okay, these two places are next to each other. Why did you go here and then go here and then come here? Why didn't you just go directly? But there's a reason behind it. So tell us, what exactly have you planned for us so that we can be happy early?
That's a compound question. But like I said earlier, there's been this unbundling. And so once upon a time, the decisions on where to go next, what to do next, where to invest next, were all vested in Kenya Power. That time it was Kenya Power and Lighting Company. So you could sit down in a boardroom and decide, you know what, the people of Western Kenya need more power, so we need more transmission lines, so we need more substations, and so we need this. And you could make the decision and avail the funds and go ahead and implement. Now there is need for collaboration, because I may have a demand for more customers who need power in a certain region. But if I have no transmission lines, I do not have the authority to go ahead and erect transmission lines. So it means I have to present the request and ask my contemporaries in Ketrako to kindly avail the funds to put a transmission line to a certain area. Now, Kenya Power is a commercial company, so we do raise revenue from our customers. Ketrako, on the other hand, is wholly government-owned. So unless Exchequer provides the funds to send that line to a certain area, you would find a nod, a general agreement, and absolutely no action. So some of these things have made it stick in the mud. So plans, yes, we do have plans. We want to expand the distribution network because that's within our power. We want to supply power to more people. But when the transmission has got constraints, there's nothing much you can do about it. You cannot really blame KETRACO because KETRACO, again, is waiting on Kenyans to pay taxes for Treasury to avail the funds. So it's a little bit convoluted at the moment.
Actually,
however,
since we have to blame someone, surely, who should we blame if not KETRACO?
No, let me tell you,
so we take it to the National Treasury?
Yes.
It's a little bit of
or
everything.
to Parliament?
Yes.
Because if you tell KETRACO we need this done, and KETRACO tell you we don't have budget for that right now, we have to wait until
we have to talk to the ministry.
Budget is availed.
Our
it means they have to talk to the
Ministry of Energy.
Exactly. Then the money is Ministry of Energy talks to Ministry of to the Treasury. Treasury says okay, that is a priority. So for example, that long Suswa line, the line that MD really likes to talk about.
To Moroni.
Then Koru. And then
there's a time we're asking, how soon can this be done? And they go ahead and tell you, well, we need 24 months. Because they're working backwards.
2 years.
Yes. The process that they have to follow through to be able to deliver it. And they're not being negligent.
No,
that's just
not.
their reality.
But there's something else we introduced here called load shedding. Okay?
Mm.
If you don't change the transmission lines, you are losing power, which means you're losing money, which means you're being inefficient.
That is true.
Yes.
It pains me.
Yes, so essentially you have a zero-sum game here. You're supposed to be supplying electricity, most of which you seem to be losing somewhere along the way. And this thing costs to produce.
It does.
Surely logic then should prevail that this is something that must be attended to as soon as is humanly possible.
That is true.
Yes.
And in fact, a little bit of good news is that we recently got like a special window, a special permission to actually construct part of that line using concrete poles. So rather than wait for the steel pylons that KETRACO need to use for high voltage wires, we're told, okay, fine, because this is urgent, 24 months cannot work. At least Kenya Power, you've got a little bit of budget because you guys are generating your own income, so it's just a matter of reallocating. Go ahead and build that line and use concrete poles. And by the time KETRACO catch up with the bigger installation, this can be holding fort in the meantime. So that is ongoing. So within maybe the next 9 months, the load shedding towards Western Kenya should be ended. But for us to even get that approval, I tell you, it was like pulling teeth. Because, again, we have this thing in Kenya where once something it's like this eternal fight between national government and county government. Once you've been told that this is your territory, we are very protective of our turf.
Yeah.
And so even if I'm coming in to assist you, as long as it's your turf, you're like, no, it's like you want to show me up for inefficiency.
Is it really protective or is it restrictive? I mean, what are you protecting? It's the same country.
It's your turf. It's your territory. You will pee all around it and you say, this is mine. No one else can come here. And sometimes I feel that's what happens. It's almost like if I tell you, no, can I do this for you? Then you see like I'm taking away something from you. But I think when push came to shove and the problems in Western Kenya it's glaring, and now load shedding became a reality, we were told, okay, fine, this once, please go ahead and just do your little steel concrete poles and we'll see what to do. But there is light at the end of the tunnel because in the spirit of the government to try and have more private sector involvement in some of this business, KETRACO is getting involved with some private people to construct transmission lines so that we can have a more robust network. So hopefully this will be a thing of the past because the private people are coming with private money, which is more readily available than the treasury money. So hopefully KETRACO will be in a much stronger position within the next 24 months. Are telling us actually we should see a lot more transmission going out because right now there are places that are completely off grid that we still have to supply, that the rest of Kenyans have to cross subsidize because they're the guys who are running on pretty expensive thermal power.
Does KETRACO have competition? Does Kenya Power have competition? Does KenGen have competition?
No. Okay, KenGen has a lot of competition because all the power generators in the country are quote-unquote competing with KenGen.
They're not really.
The thing is this, though, is that for many of them, they produce, only so much power.
Yeah.
But KenGen produces a whole lot more. It's a lot like Kenya Power. KenGen is the dominant player, but there are very many more players who are coming in. And we need a lot more players to come in. Contrary to popular belief, IPPs are not the devil. They are necessary evil. They're not even evil. They are necessary components to what we need, because we do not have enough power in Kenya. I know people say, oh, there's all this sun, there's all this water. We actually don't have enough power in Kenya.
Why?
Okay. The power that we generate, we consume. Almost all of it.
We're supposed to, aren't we?
Yes.
Yes.
In an ideal situation, we should be able to generate enough to have what they call a spinning reserve of about 30%, so that you've got 30% excess of power than what you actually need. In Kenya, you make 20 units, you consume 19.98 units. As in, we have got such little headroom. So whenever I hear that when there's a moratorium on IPPs and the whatnot, I'm like, you know what? With our growing needs, with our growing economy, with where we are headed, we need more power generators. Thing is, in the past, we had a lot of bad deals. So guys are sort of, they hear independent power purchasers and they're like, oh, those guys. But we've learned our lessons. And the law is a lot more stringent than it was 20 years ago. So right now, if an independent power purchaser is coming on board with Kenya Power, what the hoops that they have to jump through are a lot more determinate than what was there before, because what was there before was a little bit of anarchy, let me see. It was whatever you negotiated is what you were given.
Yeah.
Right now, there's parameters.
There are parameters within which to operate.
Yes.
Within the last, let's say, 10 years, where we saw there was a government agenda to increase connectivity to the population, saying we have to get to 80%, even 100% of Kenyans connected to the grid. Kenya Power then was tasked with a lot of that work of bringing everybody on board. We remember the photos of the former president and the deputy walking into huts and saying, you are switching on power because people are connected to power. How did that affect the books of Kenya Power?
Wololo is where I would start.
They were very wololo situation.
Because what happened is we went from, I'm terrible with the numbers, but let me give you ballpark if what I remember is correct. We went from having something of about 3 million customers to 8 million customers within like 6 years. The growth was so exponential, which in itself seems like a good thing. But the thing is, now speaking as a business, if all I'm giving you is one bulb and one socket, it costs me more to get that power to you than I'm getting from your token.
Yep.
Because some of those guys are what we call lifeline. They spend less than 500 or less bob a month on their power.
Yep.
What it costs me in terms of operations and maintenance to get the power to you is more than what I'm getting out. So yes, all these people are connected. Yes, Kenya ya meta. We have angazaed the sky, but we were hemorrhaging funds.
It was costing you a lot more to maintain those customers.
So when you're doing that last mile connectivity, the government provides the funds. So getting the actual power to you is paid by the exchequer. But once we get the power to you, then now you become a customer.
Yep.
Once you become a customer, now it's me and you. We have to have this conversation about, please consume a little bit more power. In some places, the nature of the relationship with the customers is such that it is so remote that even if there is illegal connections or things like that, the cost of me trying to find out where you actually are and trying to correct that is also prohibitive. And so you find that there was a lot more social satisfaction, but it hit the bottom line. So when that happens, you start looking for how can we make this a little bit more efficient. And so you find now the accusation about cross-subsidization, there are guys who end up paying more so that others can have power. So our tariffs are banded. So you've got the lifeline guys, then you've got the guys who are domestic 1 and you've got domestic 2. So the guys who are on lifeline are consuming less than 30 units of power in a month. So those ones, their power definitely is cross-subsidized because what we charge them for power is less than what. But you're looking at this person in terms of they just need to see what's going on in the evening and possibly charge their phone. And they don't have too much wahala after that.
But
so before, Lifeline used to be up to 100 units. So majority of Kenyans were technically on Lifeline. It wasn't good business because you've got all these people who are consuming. I mean, we had guys here in Nairobi with microwaves and instant showers on Lifeline. Because 100 units and below, if you're a single person, you probably fall within that bracket. And so it wasn't good business. It was excellent politics. It was good socially. But for the business, it was bad. And so you find within the last 6 years, we've been unable to declare a dividend because we have been running on fumes, basically.
Was this also the opportunity that was taken by some people, even within the organization, then to start having this monkey business? Because the whole conversation then comes with, all right, you've increased your transmission line. I mean, not your connection, your line, your distribution network. You have transformers. You have meters. Some of these ones are substandard. So even after you've connected this one customer, it's costing you a lot to have these things running because of the substandard equipment, the cables that have been used, the transformers that have been used, the meters that have been used, even the sockets that have been supplied in some areas where they're supplying, all substandard. Was that a factor?
It wasn't all substandard, but there were some discrepancies.
Yes.
There were some discrepancies. And that's part of what I have struggled with even as chairman, the procurement process, because as a state corporation, having majority government stake makes us a state corporation. That means we are subject to the public procurement process. Now, what that does, therefore, is we have got people who have sat down and have studied the process to a T. They understand it left, back, and center. So when they come, you hear people talking about cartels. So this is how it works. So the three of us, you know what, we all supply sockets.
Yep.
So we sit down and decide, you know what, there's a tender coming up for sockets, and this is how it's going to go down. So you're going to do this, and you're going to do this, and I'm going to do this. And then when we go in, you're going to get this, and then you'll subcontract me to do this. And so when they come in, they sort of crowded everybody else out, and they come in and they do this thing. If what they're offering you is, they'll meet your specs. But if what they're offering you ends up being a little bit nonsense, because it's the same pool that you're swimming in, the same contamination will be found in all. We've tried to make our tendering to have various lots, so that if the Eric batch seems to be not so good, we keep going with the city batch, so that we can see, okay, how do we mitigate this? But now that's where we end up with what we call tender wars. Because now if Eric gets it, and Joy is thinking, you know what, that's a load of nonsense. What do? I go to court. First thing I get is conservatory orders. Nothing proceeds with this tender until this matter is heard and determined. And our courts, unfortunately, have been giving them that. I have not understood that, because I'm like, okay, when you give an injunction, is because something is incompensable by damages. But if it's business, everything is compensable by damages. It's a game of money anyway. But the courts somehow think that that's the best way to go, so they grind everything to a halt. Once they grind everything to a halt, guess what happens? There's no supply, there's no procurement. Everything lapses. Now, in the world of procurement, if I went to a manufacturer and I got this price today, this thing is stuck in court in 6 months. When it's unlocked and told, okay, fine, proceed, go ahead. He goes back, the manufacturer, and the dude is like, you know what, that time the dollar was 130, now it's 140. That quotation does not work. What happens? Come back to me. I have to reopen the tendering process and go back to square one.
Right.
So we got to a place where things like meters, for example, completely got finished. All of them, everything we had in the store, our 2-year supply was all exhausted, because for 2 years we're locked up in court with that. So what happens now when you talk about standards? People start improvising. So we don't have meters. So what do we do? So when Eric is sleeping, we come, we steal his meter, we go and install in some house in Ushago. And like I had a case of, my mom died, me I hadn't gotten a meter, so I went to her house in Ushago. I ignored that meter, and I came and I had an electrician install for me because I needed power. Now, such things started happening. So before long, quality control sort of went out the window, because now there was desperation. And because we were not even in a place to intervene, you sort of get to a place where you just sort of let it roll and try and correct it as you go along. That's why you had the president saying, if you find guys who've done monkey business, try and regularize, because there's a window of time there when
there could have been a reason,
it was a jungle out doing there. Yeah, so some of the things, for example, with the transformers and stuff, there's a lot of stories about faulty transformers. But what we did find is that some of our contractors were involved in trying to assist customers to get, better priced power, for lack of a better word.
Right.
And so some of these things that mess up with the configurations cause the equipment to malfunction. Because before we even buy we take your transformer, we have a testing bench. Those things are tested thoroughly. Each of them.
Each unit
is tested before it's put up. So when it goes and it malfunctions, it's because for what it has been put up for, somebody has expanded its scope. And so you find yourself in a situation where a malfunction becomes necessary because, again, how that equipment protect itself, if something goes beyond certain parameters, it trips, it goes off. So it is what it is.
Let's take a break. This conversation continues shortly. Joy Brenda Masinde is the chairman of Kenya Power. She's here this morning as chair of the board to tell us what it will take to return and maintain Kenya Power to profitability, and also to give us power without blackouts across the country, everywhere. People yesterday were complaining there were about 5 hours without power in some parts of Nairobi.
That was an act of God. Did you see that store?
Okay. So how can we insulate Kenya Power from acts of God? Also, another question that we're going to ask. My mother-in-law, Tok didn't have power for like 3 days. In Kimana, it had not rained. Don't blame God on this one.
I know.
Was it an elephant that was crossing from Ombaso? I don't know. Okay, 25 minutes to 8. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people. And we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila that he's doing police of conmanship. And even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. And hii mambo utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
The weather with Spice
cold
FM.
In Nairobi, it's currently 16 degrees Celsius. That's very cold for Nairobi. It will rise to 23. That's the highest that you expect for Nairobi today. Malindi 26 currently, it's going to rise to 33. Mombasa 26, also rising to 32 later today. Kakamega is currently 18, rising to 25. Nyeri 16, rising to 24. Nakuru 16, highs of 22. Kisumu 20, highs of 26. Addis Ababa 15. Addis Ababa is colder than Nairobi. Highs of 25 later today. Mogadishu 28, highs of 33. Dar es Salaam 27 and highs of 32. Johannesburg 15, highs of 24. Kinshasa 24, highs of 34. Kampala 19, highs of 27. Beijing 6, highs of 8. Paris 1, highs of 12. London 7, highs of 11. And New York 11 and highs of 14.
Spice up your life.
It's like my map is not working or it's not upgrading because, the roads seem to be okay so far. It's only Thika Superhighway that stretches all the way back to Gilderai, coming towards Nairobi. Kiambu Road is looking okay. Westlands is busy heading towards town. Kitengela, there's been a problem this morning, all the way from Kitengela coming to join Mombasa Road. Busy. Ngong Road, Langata Road, looking okay. Jogoo Road, looking okay. Landis Road is fine into town. Also, the Southern Bypass, Outer Ring Road is okay. Southern Bypass is looking okay. Eastern Bypass, it's all right. Manyanja Road, intersection of, getting into Jogoo Road, that's why it's a bit busy. Makadara is also slightly busy. Other than that, well, just the normal Wednesday morning traffic. Anything you think we should talk about, tag us on X at SpiceFM KE.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
Our guest this morning, we're talking about Kenya Power and managing it from the very top. There are very many comments that are coming here and saying, all right, you're saying that there's competition for Kenya Power, but it's not enough. Kenya Power needs to get proper competition to get some heat on its bottoms? What do you say?
We have plenty of heat on our bottom. One of the departments that I have got a high attrition rate, and everybody who gets in tries to get out as soon as they've sat there, is customer care. Because the guys who work in our call center take a lot of heat from Kenyans. Hey, Kenyans are not kind. So you find that we feel the public dissatisfaction. We get the public. In fact, there are places where I go, if I have a branded vehicle, I would rather drive myself rather than go in a branded vehicle, just because of the level of dissatisfaction that our customers do have. Justifiably so. Is indefensible sometimes what we do. But we, as a board especially, we are determined to turn that around.
So what will you do about that? How will you change customer satisfaction from unsatisfactory customers, unsatisfied customers, to customers who can say, yes, I see Kenya Power officials coming, in fact, I buy them tea?
Last year, we launched our strategic plan for 2023-2028. And one of the things that we have done was we have a major emphasis shift from tech to customer centricity. Because we realized we are a company that is very reliant on engineering and engineers and all that stuff. And we are really busy with the wires and the transformers and things like that. We forgot the aspect of our customers. And so even our attitude, the way we did our things was basically, are the wires switched on? Are they working? So the rest of it was basically we were winging it, flying by the seat of our pants. So one of the things that we have tried to do this year especially, now in line with moving towards customer centricity, you'll find a lot more engagement between Kenya Power and our customers, which is what MD was doing, which is what I'm doing, trying to talk more to our customers to sort of understand the sort of business that we're running and the things that we can do and what we cannot do. So for example, if I meet someone and they're like, when are you reducing the cost of power? I'm like, well, not anytime soon, to be honest, because as it stands right now, the variables are not for going down. They are for either holding constant or maybe even going up. I'm talking about the forex, all these other things. So trying to be honest about some things, trying also to be mindful, like you said, every time somebody's power is out, I'm leaving money on the table. And trying to get our guys to also understand, you know what, when you tell people I'll come after lunch, that money, are you going to pay me? Please go and fix it now, because as long as the power is off, the company is not making money, I don't have a salary to pay you. So that customer centricity is something that it's a culture change thing. So it's going to take some time, but we will get there eventually. I think even as this morning, I left the house and we had no power. And I decided I'm going to call into customer care. I'm not going to report on the app. And I was on hold for almost 18 minutes before somebody finally came on the line.
Right.
And so now...
What time was this?
This was at 4 a.m.
4 a.m. You were on hold for 18 minutes.
For 18 minutes. So somebody is picking up the call at about 4:40, and I think I started calling at 4:20. And so she was very polite. She was like, oh, we did not know about this outage. We have clocked it and we're going to get back to you. So when you do get to customer care, the service is satisfactory, but even getting through to customer care. So I was thinking to myself, we have a customer charter and other things that we need to make come alive. It will take some time, but we will get there. The other thing that we have to admit also is that the idea for a long time has been mutatupeleka wapi, so mutadu. And I think we have realized our cheese is moving. Because if you talk to the DG EPRA, there are a lot more people who are affording to get off grid and are doing so. So I would have to be incredibly stupid to think that, to take my 9.4 million customers for granted, because guess what? The customers who are walking away are the ones who can afford to pay me. So I'm being stuck with the customers who need the cross subsidization, and the guys who help me to cross subsidize are finding alternatives. So I have to up my game pretty quickly so that I retain my customers.
Kenya Power aren't reinventing this taking your client for granted thing. There was an organization once upon a time called Kenya Posta.
Kenya Post and Telecommunication Corporation.
Ndio Kenya huyo, yes. They offered telephone services, same attitude. You're given a bill and you're wondering whether you actually run a business for a calling business. Same attitude. And it persisted because we didn't have a choice, at least not much of a choice. Then handsets came. First, they came with these telephone booths, which you're supposed to walk around with and talk. Before we got to this, that thing died.
Yeah, that is true. And I'm alive to that fact, by the way, that ours is a very fast evolving field. The technology is getting better. It's getting cheaper. People are able to get rid of you and get rid of you for good, or get rid of you for most parts.
If they get a reliable alternative,
they move.
Oh, they will move.
Like Anthony Ndegwa, he says he applied for power in April last year for a house not in Lodwar or in Lokichong or in Loriga, in Kahawasukari. Paid 97,000 bob. To date, nobody has come even to tell him what's happening. He has no alternative. He's gone solar.
You see? It's
Domestic.
happening. That's what I'm saying. Somebody is moving our cheese. And if you've ever read that book, you realize that there's some of those mice that were like, no, it's coming back.
It's coming back. Just wait.
For me, I got into this as this is a business. We need to be putting money in the pocket of our shareholders. The company has become sustainable. And so stories like those break my heart, because I'm thinking, now that's somebody who we already stole from him. He's 97,000, and then now he's not a customer. So I'm not. Was 97,000 worth burning that relationship? And if he had been my customer for the next 30 years, how much more would I have made from him, and have a mutually beneficial relationship? But we made changes to the board last year that also are going to help us in this quest, because one of the things that we realize is that the government owns 50.1 stake in Kenya Power, but the members of the public, through public listing, own 49.9% of the stake. And they did not have any representation on the board in terms of getting a director on directly. And so...
Not even one?
Not even one.
How did that work out?
So the first person who came with the smoking gun there with the issue was when the World Bank was looking at saying your governance doesn't match up, and I was like, no, our governance is pretty good. They said, no, actually, if you look at your governance carefully, it doesn't. And so what we did, we had a special general meeting, and the shareholders actually agreed with us that the minority shareholding should have a direct say in electing some of the directors directly. And so that's what we did. The government, being what it is, trying to move this process forward as a business, decided, you know what? Yeah. So they got off some of the directors, and the shareholders elected 4 new directors. And so now we've got 4 directors from the general public, the general shareholding, and then we've got the 5 from government. So we are hoping that also will help, because now these are guys who are not there because of how they assisted the government to come to power, as Amul is accused of doing.
Consumers are not represented?
No, consumers are not represented, because if it's a listed company, you're looking to protect the shareholders' interests.
Oh,
the consumers...
And these shareholders are shareholders of what exactly?
The shareholders of the company, in making the business robust, not only get a return on investment, but they also generate value for customers.
Chairman, my focus on the 51% which we own.
The 50.1%.
That one.
That you own.
So government should bring in a member of the public to represent public interests.
Yes.
Well, you have the CS Treasury and the PS Energy, who are the ones
those
looking
ones
out
represent,
for.
but they represent government instruction.
And then
you know what we're talking about.
Then you've got Akina Joy. Surely, I'm not representing you. Even us, we are feeling the pain. Even me, I buy tokens and look at it.
You do.
I am like, yeah,
you do. The person who's appointed as chair by the president represents, public interest.
Yes.
Because they're not
with us,
really
we're a bit different. The president doesn't actually appoint the chair. You are elected from
you're
the
elected
PS.
by the... But then, so you are appointed by...
I was nominated by the government.
Right.
And once we had our first board meeting, then my fellow directors elected me
as chair.
Yes.
Do you think there is sense to what City is saying?
There is some
sense. A direct
sense.
seat there that is representing public interest.
There is some sense in terms of, how do I put it? In public spiritedness.
Yeah.
But in terms of running a business, it's not very useful, because the shareholders there are actually members of public.
True.
And they're members of the public with a stake.
Yep.
And that is why we felt it was important for them to come on, because some of the things that as government you might be harassed into doing, they have the strength to say, you know what? Wait a minute. And in this one, actually, we are a bit outgunned, because if you remove the CS and the PS, it's 3 versus 4. So if they do want, they can pull a boardroom coup. But so far we've got a gentleman and a lady who are they're really bringing value to the board, really opening up the space, expanding the conversation, bringing to the table things that might otherwise not have come to the table before. And I'm actually finding great value in having people who are representing the minority shareholding, because they look at the numbers and tell you, no, why are we doing this? This is not going, we are going to another year. And that's why you're seeing we're getting to a place of more profitability, because some of the things we were doing as just trying to just keep the power on, send the last mile, send the what. Some of them are like, you know what? Let's look at that again. Unless the money comes in, the service doesn't go out.
On this one, I'm a dog with a bone for a very simple reason. The role that the production of electricity plays in this country is huge, massive. There are groups, I don't know how many there are in this country, but we've come across some who represent consumer interests, meaning they're the people who've taken time to bother to understand how this industry actually works and what happens. Someone may be a shareholder, but they may not have the knowledge that person has. This is a very specialized business. Yes, indeed, we have PSs and all these people represent us. But these people do many other things as well.
That is true. All of them are there by alternate, actually. They're not there in themselves.
Yes, they will come and represent the government interest. Now, I know we're the sovereign, the government is ours, but that's not what I'm talking about. We have elected leaders who represent God alone knows who or what. Elected. So now, when it comes to something this important, we thank God they're not there. But surely, when you have consumer interest, because these are people who you can see they've taken time to bother to understand how these things work, and they push that envelope. People like these ought to be considered for the simple reason that they understand and they're not aligned either to the shareholders or the government. They're just consumers.
They represent the cheese.
Yes, that's just it. I know it's a bit far-fetched. I know it isn't the norm, but so was public participation. It is now the norm. So it is not spirit. I rest my case.
Seller. Ponder on these things. No, it's also because when you, in the space that I am, I try to listen a lot to our customers. And at times, even those who you say understand a lot, sometimes you listen to them and they're like, they don't quite have the full gist. They understand what they need to understand for the space that they're in, but it's a lot more complex than that.
Once they get to the board, they'll have
similar understanding. I mean, before I joined the board, for like example, us. I was the chief of Kenya. Bure Kabisa was on KOT.
Like us.
I was like, what nonsense is this? Until you go in and they open all PLC. They open everything and you look at it and you're like, oh snap, and you realize, you know what? This is it's a big bite, but it is surmountable. It is chewable. Baby steps, we will get there. Steps, we will get there. So, for example, something like what you're talking about before we went on break, the perennial blackouts. That is one thing that even if you go on our WhatsApp wall, it's like no justification for this whatsoever, no justification for it whatsoever. But I realized by the blackouts are for different reasons. Unfortunately, in Kenya, there's one particular phenomenon, especially for guys who go for weeks without power. Vandalism is a big problem because one of our directors comes from Nyanza. I had a space that had not had power for 3 months. Now you're on the board, so you cough a little bit and a transformer comes from somewhere, and we fitted the transformer. It lasted all of 48 hours.
And then?
It was completely vandalized. Back on the ground, all the oil has been siphoned. They've taken all the copper and they've left it there. Now, in such a situation, the first thing is like, what? Transformers cost a pretty penny. There's no transformer sitting around just waiting to be replaced because you vandalized yours. They cost them in the millions. So even if he's one of our directors, we have to tell him, you know what? Your guys are going to have to chill, because the other people who need transformers, you pulled rank to get this one.
And we gave you a transformer.
We gave you a transformer. We are not pulling rank to do nothing else. So those guys will be without power for another 3 months. And they'll be like, oh, inefficient Kenya Power. Yet, it's the vandals who make business almost impossible.
So what is the strategy? Because if this is one big issue that's affecting your business, What do you want to do about it?
Again, multi-sectoral. First thing first, I don't know why we export so much copper and we do not mine a single drop of copper in this country. Some things just have to be stopped because that's what generates the interest and drives the business. We do.
So kill the scrap business.
For some items.
It's like we export gold.
I'm telling you. Like, I don't know if you saw the other day when there was an impoundment of, it was a 40-foot container that was impounded full of copper that was headed to the coast to be exported. Yeah. The week before that, there are 2 containers that actually made it out. By the time we got the tip-off, they already loaded on the ship and those ones made it out. I think you've seen our PS, Alex Washira, going on these sting operations, and in front you have a legitimate scrap metal business, but in the next room at the back you're loaded full of aluminium and copper, things that we don't mine and yet we export in tons. So there's some of those things where government has to help us and say, you know what, some of these things will no longer be exported. Even if you have tons of it, sell it within the country. We don't want to know where you'll take it, because some of those things drive vandalism, the demand for vandalism. Then another thing we also need to do is be public spirited as Kenyans. If you do notice, because usually they record the place and they'll you can't take it down in one go. They'll do things every single night. They'll be doing something small before the night they finally come to. I mean, if you see the young men who are pulling stunts, just, blow the whistle on them. Kenyans have this thing of, Kenya powers are thieves, so let them steal from them. Okay, and until it goes blackout, till you've got guys with diabetes medicine who don't have a fridge anymore, until you've got a mother whose entire stash of breast milk, which is blood, sweat and tears, going down the drain, that's when you know, but it has a real cost to people. So that's one of the things that I hope Kenyans will help us work.
Madam Chair, can I ask?
Yes, please.
You mentioned something about the morale of the workers.
Yes.
What has been done? How is that shaping up? Because at the heart of it, the board can do all they like. If the workforce...
But the 10,000 guys who are boots on the ground...
that's it. You'll make your calls. Somebody will tell you they're coming. 3 days later, you may see one person. That sort of thing. So what's being done about that?
Several things. First thing we did, like I said, last year was all about building relationships. So we found that we had plenty of workers who had been in the same job grade for over a decade. So we undertook a major realignment of finding out who needs to be where. And we did major stuff. So there are guys who are on contract for years. We gave them a more permanent contract. And so we did things that sort of gave people better job security. Some guys were in the wrong job groups. They were given 2 or 3, they were given a grade or 2 promotions. There are guys who had been acting for quite a long time. We went ahead and confirmed them. We actually last year gave our employees a cost of living adjustment in their salary, to just sort of also tell them, you know what, we also recognize that we can't promote everybody, but everybody needs to feel some relief. Our management, who are famous for knowing they are neither here nor there, most of the management now have got a substantive contract for a definite time. So they have the job security of knowing, okay, tomorrow we're not going to be at the back of a Subaru going to answer charges for we don't know what. There's that security of, okay, now I'm here, I'm working, I have a contract, I have KPIs, I've got targets. And so the targets are going out. So, and this has translated actually into better bottom line, because there are guys who are no longer working, no longer being managed. Now everybody is feeling that urgency of we need.
There's a sense of ownership.
There is. There's more yet to be done, because we still don't have enough people, to be honest, because we have a large workforce. The other thing we need to do is leverage on technology. That's something that we're working robustly again towards, because our technology is, quite frankly, very, very good, I must say. We've been on the cutting edge of technology for a long time, but it's been evolving so fast, we need to play catch up. So there's a lot more of our systems that can be automated, that should be automated. Like you talked about the billing. Most of our customers are dissatisfied with the bills because they're not too sure that what they're being billed is the correct thing. Now, using technology, having smart meters so that you can monitor your own consumption. You can even tell which socket is costing you the most. Is it the water heater? Is it the cooker? Is it the... So you can monitor, because this technology exists. Now, those are things that are capital intensive, but we have seen the partners who are able to help us get there. So soon, you will be seeing the rollout of smart meters into domestic consumption, and that should help you to be sure that what you're being billed, because most Kenyans don't have a problem paying for the electricity. As long as they're sure they're paying what they've consumed.
So long I'm not paying for my neighbor in the factory next door.
Exactly.
Yes.
But the other thing Kenyans also need to do, especially if you live in apartments and in flats, get an electrician to make sure that you're only paying your bill. Because Kenyans, the places we've gone and guys are complaining of high bills, once you go and an electrician just like this, they realize, hey, Jirani had put in one wire and his water heater is heating in your house. So please, if you're living especially in an apartment with just get an electrician to also look your electrics over. Just make sure by the way that the guy downstairs is not always boiling water in his kettle every 2 minutes because he knows his cooker socket is connected to you, because that has happened a lot as well.
Madam Chairman, thank you very much for joining us.
Asante for having me.
Joy Brenda Masinde is the chairman of Kenya Power. Yes, chairman. And she insists. Thank you very much for joining us. Keep it here for more conversations. It's 8 a.m. Time for the news.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Lao Ubaga. The politics of Kisii County have taken an interesting twist after President William Ruto's lawyer Katwa Kigen moved to court to defend Deputy Governor Robert Monda, who is facing impeachment. Kigen, however, suffered a major blow after the High Court in Kisii declined to issue orders stopping the impeachment. Justice Teresa Odera ruled that no prejudice would be occasioned if the courts failed to grant him interim orders at this stage. Ichuni Ward MCA Wycliffe Siocha filed the motion of impeachment on February, citing gross violation of the Constitution, abuse of office, gross misconduct and crimes under national law. Police in Embu have impounded 1,500 crates of suspected counterfeit beer under the brand of gold in a store camouflaged as a dairy store and cooling plant at Kianjokoma Market. County Commissioner Jaco Bor says that they suspect the beer has been transported from another county, adding that a multi-agency team is on high alert. Obor adds that a manhunt has also been launched against the main suspect, who escaped when police officers arrived following a tip-off from members of the public. Bumala MP Jack Wamboka has criticized the government's move to place all its services on the e-Citizen platform, saying the move will deprive thousands of Kenyans who don't have access to the internet. Wamboka gave the example of his constituency, where more than 7,500 residents are not connected to the internet. He further raised the question on the security of student data, saying it was not advisable for parents to pay fees online.
Sisi ni rural constituency. Watu wako na access na internet ni less than 15%. Ukisema waende walipe kwa e-Citizen. Sisi watu wetu hapa hawana hela. Mtu unapeleka maziwa kwa shule, unapeleka mboga kwa shule, unapeleka kuni, ama wewe unaenda kufanya kazi wapi? Kwa shule. Sasa wewe kuni utaweka kwa e-Citizen. Alafu tuna risk data yetu yote ya wanafunzi wetu wote hapa Kenya tunaweka e-Citizen. Tunaomba Mheshimiwa Rais na serikali yako, tafadhali, wazazi, hiyo maneno haiwezani.
Machakos Deputy Governor Francis Mwangangi has asked the national government to ensure the timely disbursement of county funds. Speaking after visiting victims of the Machakos County accident that claimed 9 lives, Mwangangi said that this would enable delivery of services at the grassroots level.
It pains me when I see somebody seated somewhere within the national government interfere with the devolution funds. We need to pay people working here well, so that we retain them, they don't look for jobs elsewhere. If these specialists were not here, Dr. Yumbia, what could you have done? We need to ensure sustained and reliable medical supplies for them to work. But without money, somebody will think the government doesn't want to have a sustained medical supply.
Mwangangi said devolution had been affected by the national government's failure to address governors' financial needs.
We are seeing the national budget of the country going up and the monies for devolution going down. We are killing devolution, yet the county governments across the republic are the ones close to the people. We need to change that policy and be mindful of our citizens.
The Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed, landed on Kenyan soil last evening, making his first state visit since President William Ruto took power. Abiy and his spouse, Zinash Taichu, were received by Ruto and thereafter officially opened the Summersource Kenya EPZ Limited at the Nairobi Delivery Center. His visit comes after President Ruto visited Addis Ababa, Ethiopia for the 37th African Union Summit of Heads of State and Government last month. Abiy made his last visit to Kenya in 2020 under President Uhuru Kenyatta's rule for the launch of the one-stop border post at Moyale in Marsabit. That's the News Wire. I'm Lal Ubaga.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Where? You're coming from Theka to Nairobi. Jam begins at Garden City, heading towards Nairobi, all the way onto Wangari Maathai Road, all the way into Wayakiwe, into town, into Huru Highway. Langata Road is also busy into town, but not so much actually. Langata Road is moving well. Ngong Road into town is what's busy, and this is at City Mortuary roundabout. And then we can see all these other roads that are also looking very busy. Limuru Road is busy in some areas. We know that we had seen earlier Jogoo Road was busy, yes, around Makadara. The northern bypass, the eastern bypass is busy. Outer Ring Road is busy at the intersection with the North Airport Road, but looks like just the normal kind of morning traffic every day. Aerodrome Road also heading into the highway is quite busy. Anything we need to talk about? Let us know on YouTube, on Facebook, on X, SpiceFM KE.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
7 minutes after 8. Welcome to the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. Thank you very much for joining us. It's the 28th day of February, CT.
It is.
The month of February is coming to an end tomorrow, and then March will come.
It always comes as a surprise, isn't it?
Imagine. And people ask themselves, Kani, it seems like I didn't even have a plan.
Well, it would happen because at the back of your mind, a month has to be 30 days. Now this one, 28.
28.
And you're thinking, okay, where did the other two go? Then someone tells you it's a leap year. But then if you plan, you will know that it's 28 days.
Yep.
Precisely. And if you're planning financially, you plan for 28 days.
You know exactly what you're dealing with.
Yes.
Because you're already projecting.
Yes.
You're thinking ahead.
Yes.
You're thinking about a plan that you have for the future. Plan for whether the future is tomorrow, whether the future is this afternoon. Whatever the future is, plan. And I see a lion are telling you, come, let's actually help you. Think through your plan and then help you actualize your plan. ICA Lion are experienced and they've been in this market for many years, and they tell you, all right, you talk to us, we will help you. ICALion.co.ke, that's a website. plan@ICALion.co.ke, that's the email address. That's plan@ICALion.co.ke. At ICA Lion on X and their social media platforms. Talk to them, DM them, they respond immediately. They're like that. They are not those people who sleep at your customer service of a certain company whose chairman was here a short while ago, whose chair called customer service and waited for 20 minutes before somebody could talk to her. Hey, these guys at ICA Lion, immediately thinking about plans. Our next guest is a strategist, and this is also thinking plans and going forward. Before I introduce the guest, reminding you as well about EcoBank and what they do. If you have a plan to expand your business from this country into any other African country, EcoBank is in 35 African countries. If you're thinking of expanding your business or linking up with partner businesses in the UK, in France, in China, in the United Arab Emirates, EcoBank has presence there as well. You only need one bank account and you can operate in all these countries. Whatever currency you choose to operate with, it's fine. Their system is robust enough to accommodate and support you. Okay, time to introduce our guest. The Chief of Strategy at Naivas, Andreas von Paleske, is our guest. Andreas, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you. I'm pleased to be here.
We call that the hot seat of the situation. How does it feel?
Relaxed so far. We'll see how it goes.
Very good. The person who was there before you was the chair of Kenya Power Company. Of course, you know, those ones, they generate heat. But, you know, she had a good time. City is going to welcome you with the day's proverb. Every week, City goes to one African country. He picks proverbs from that country, and then he gives us the proverb. Your job, Andreas, is to listen to the proverb and then give us your interpretation of it.
Great.
Okay, City, go.
Yes, our proverbs for this week are from the country of Benin, the Republic of Benin. Has a population of 13 million people. 1-3. Okay?
13 million.
1-3.
Wow.
Yes. Those are many people. Country's not that big. They have a president called Patrice Talon. The VP is called Miriam Chabi Talata. Okay? The proverb for the day. When night falls, grass turns to people.
When night falls, grass turns to people.
Grass turns to people.
Yes.
That's a very interesting proverb. Quite cryptic, I would say.
Yes, it is.
What do you think it means? Night falls, grass turns to people.
Gosh, I'm struggling with that one, I'll be honest. Grass turns to people.
Help.
Let me tell you this. An interpretation of a proverb, you cannot possibly be wrong. Because you'll be telling us how you resonate with it. That's it.
Well, what I would say is when night falls, it gets dark, of course. Things become very quiet. And things tune down, things relax. Things calm down from the busy times during the day when there's a lot of activity, when there's a lot of noise. So maybe it's a proverb that indicates some reflection of what's happened during the day. To take stock of the busyness during the day, and to calm things down.
Yes, spot on. And I tell me at night, how good is one's vision at night?
Very poor.
Precisely. So images can appear to be what they're not.
Yes. Very interesting.
If you think about it strategically, then there are things that may appear that this is the way to go, but it may not be. There may be booby traps, or they may actually just be innocent things that appear to be booby traps.
And someone who works in strategy would know this better than most people, because you will know that appearances, as we say simply, can be deceptive.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I think in retail, the business that I work in, it's a daily sales business. It moves very fast. So one day you could be king of the hill, right on top, and the next day things could be very, very different. So our business is very much a daily and hourly sales business. So you're absolutely right. Sometimes things can be very deceiving, and you have to be on your feet and respond very quickly to changes in the market, to changes in customer habits.
How long have you been the Chief of Strategy at Naivas?
So I've been with Naivas for 7 years. And during that time, of course, we've seen the business evolve significantly, both from a strategy perspective, but more broadly speaking in terms of what we've done in the market. Kenya has changed a lot during that time period, and we as a business have changed significantly during that time period.
Tell us a little history. History is good. What did you start as, and how did you grow?
So Naivas started all the way back in 1990. Founded by the Muga family, so the business has been around for 34 years, much longer than I've been with the business, of course. And during that business, during that time period, the Kenyan retail landscape has changed a lot, and Naivas has changed a lot as a business. But I think the one thing that's always been the true North Star for us, that's kept us honest as a business, is our focus on the customer. When the Mukuha family set out in 1990 with, subsequently the strapline "Naivas saves you money," I think we've always tried to stay true to that, be very humble and very customer focused as a business.
So we know that Naivas has branches across the country, 100 plus. Is it, or is it still 100? I remember us celebrating the 100th Kikwetu.
103 as of tomorrow.
103 as of tomorrow. That's many. What does it take to actually run those very many branches?
It's a very good question. A lot of effort, a lot of daily effort. Let me start though with 100 branches, because I think everybody looks at that and says, "Wow, 100 branches." I think in Swahili you might say tumefika. We've arrived as a business, but for us as a business, it's actually always been around. How do we serve the customer better, and how do we ensure that we have a sustainable business, to ensure that our employees get paid, to ensure that our suppliers, our landlords get paid, and to ensure that we fund our expansion from our own resources, to stay true to what we do. You ask how we manage the business. We have almost 12,000 staff. So that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people every day in our branches that need to be managed, to make sure that the shelves are replenished, to make sure the right goods are ordered, to make sure that the customer service is there for people working. And that takes a lot of training of the staff, and that takes a lot of daily management in our stores, in our central warehouse, in our head office, to ensure that runs smoothly. As a customer, you don't see that. As a customer, you walk in, you want to be greeted, you want to be well served, but you can imagine underneath the water, the legs are moving very fast to ensure that we can deliver on that promise.
What is it that you would say is central to your success and your expansion? Because you can't have 100 plus branches and not call that success. Yes.
I think it's actually something that impressed me when I first came across the business. I think the founding family and our shareholders who've joined us on this journey subsequently have always been focused on good governance, on making sure that we manage the operations well, that we don't stretch ourselves too much. So it's not about do we open 10 or 15 or 5 branches. It's around, can we afford to do that? Are those branches profitable? Can we ensure to pay our way through that? And I think that conservative approach to expansion and to running our business is what made us successful at 30 branches and has made us successful at 100 and beyond.
When you look at branches and you look at the business and you look at the growth, what does the future look like?
I think the future for retail in Kenya is bright.
Yeah.
If you, and I hope you're both regular shoppers with us, but if you walk through our stores, I talked about the strapline "Naivas saves you money," but of course it goes beyond that. We look to offer a value for money proposition to our customers, whether that's the quality of our fruit and vegetables or the price of cooking oil and what have you. That ambience that we offer customers in our stores, the quality of what we sell. You're a loyalty card member. You're one of our 3.5 million loyalty card holders. Thank you. I think that's what brings people into our stores. And when we offer such a proposition, and if you think about modern trade in this market, so supermarkets like Naivas make up about 20% or so of the market, there's a lot of room still to grow. And I think the proposition that we have will keep bringing people into our stores.
If you look at that evolution of this retail space, it started with just the small dukas and then moving into what were then called self-service stores and then growing to supermarkets, Uchumi coming in and driving this conversation, getting into bigger and bigger stores. And now we seem to be moving from the bigger and bigger stores to back to smaller and smaller stores. Specialty brands coming in and setting up, us guys are only selling electronics. Someone else coming and we're only doing groceries, and somebody else. It appears to be shifting. Where do you see it heading from this point?
I think that was my point right at the beginning. Retail is constantly changing. You're only as good as your last transaction, is your last sale that you've made. If you look at the evolution of Naivas, when I first joined the business, vegetables was something that was in a corner somewhere. People really went to Mama Mboga to buy vegetables. They didn't really come to the supermarket, certainly not with us. If you walk into our stores now, those items are front and center, both in terms of quality and in terms of price. So there's a constant evolution that's happening in the market. Most of our business is still your core food products, your daily, weekly shop. So things like electronics, clothing, etc. have always been a smaller part of our business, but they're a very important part of our business. So I think it's less around will there be a specialty retailer offering those products. It's really, can we as a business continue to serve the customer well? So if we have a strong proposition that says you buy a fridge from us, it's a good price. When something happens to that fridge, we are here to take care of you. Then I think we will continue to win in that space. And that's, I think, the daily battle that we have to face to ensure that we continue to serve the customer well and deliver on our promise.
Then you're competing against somebody else whose cost of operation is lower. And maybe you have a high cost of operation. For you, you want to be in a certain location. That location attracts a higher rent. You want to be running as a big business. Then you're attracting all these, regulators and your licenses and business permits, and you've got to run a business fairly. And then there's somebody else that you're competing with, the other 80% of the market, that is largely informal. How do you grow this share of the retail market from 20% to make sure that more and more people are now coming into this formal retail business?
One of my learnings has been Kenyan customers are very demanding. Very demanding in terms of the service they expect, in terms of the quality they expect. Rightly so. That, of course, makes it a hard business to operate in because you have to be on your feet constantly. I think the way that we win in that space and that we continue to grow that share is really by delivering to a demanding customer. Of course, our scale means that sometimes we can offer products at a better price. And price is very important in the market. The ambience of your shopping experience when you walk into one of our stores, of course, is different. So it's a bit more experiential. The look and the feel. We try and make it a more exciting shopping experience. And those elements added together are what I think excites people to come and shop with us.
This 102 coming to 103 branches tomorrow, they're across the country. What informs where you move to next?
So we spend a lot of time researching where we open our stores. I think you asked me earlier, the success of getting to 100. That's very much predicated on making sure the stores we open are successful and they are profitable. Because only if we ensure that can we continue to grow. So we spend a lot of time researching areas, whether it's an area in Nairobi or whether it's an area in a different city or town in Kenya, to assess, is the demand there for our proposition? And once we've done that, we've looked at the demographics, we've looked at the population, we've looked at who else might be operating in that market, we then take a view and say, yeah, that location works for us. We think we can do well here.
The subject of competition when it comes to retailing is always an interesting one. And I'm going to tell you why I'm saying it's interesting. Because people who are in your line of business are competing for more or less the same customers. Or am I wrong? Or do you compete for different clientele? And if so, how do you determine the clientele that you're hoping, whose needs you're hoping to meet?
Good question. We look to serve all Kenyans as Naivas. So we don't say, there's a customer here that we're looking to serve and we won't serve this customer. I think what's important for us is that we address the entire spectrum in the market, all demographics. People of all sorts of backgrounds. That's really important to us. One, that makes our business bigger because it allows us to address a larger market. But we want to make sure whether we have a store in Karen or whether we have a store in Eastlands, that we are relevant for that customer. So we try and take a very broad approach. Now, of course, some products may work in one store, they might not work in a different store. And so we look to focus our assortment a little bit. But if you look at our advertising, if you look at our strategy in terms of products, really we're looking to serve all Kenyans. And that's very important to us. No matter what store you walk into, no matter what income you have, you should feel comfortable shopping with Naivas.
One of the things that I noticed when there was someone who would have been a competitor of Naivas but isn't there, beyond just shopping for groceries and what we consider regular shopping, they went a step further. They'd probably have a floor where you could buy... what word am I looking for? You could buy nails. You could buy hardware. You could
home
buy
furniture,
a mattress. You could buy toys. You could buy. But I guess for you to have that line of business, it means you think there's a demand for it. Or is it that if someone enters the shop, you very rarely end up buying the one thing that took you there? Depends on what else you come across. And even if you don't buy it then, you might want to buy it in the future if you know it exists. Now, in terms of expanding what it is that's available, what plans do you have? Because there is no supermarket that has literally everything. Like, I want to buy a car, but it's not going to be available in a supermarket. So how do you ensure that the customer experience also introduces them to something that isn't quite there in plenty, but is something they could always look forward to?
The question is always, where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line? Because, of course, there will always be one customer who is missing a particular item who comes to your store and says, I wish you sold this. So we're very guided by what our customers want. We are also, as you rightly say, guided by, well, if you came in to buy a loaf of bread, maybe we can sell you a packet of milk or a packet of sugar. So, of course, we try and ensure that we serve you in terms of your needs and, of course, try and sell you additional products. That's absolutely the business we're in. The challenge in retail is to know where to draw the line. Because, of course, for every additional space, for every additional product we offer, we have to pay more rent. We have to employ more people to serve that space. And if that space isn't generating enough sales, then that area may no longer be profitable for us. So it's a daily discussion we have at our head office. What products should we be in? Should we be moving out of some products? It's very much guided by customer trends and what customers want. And of course then guided by, well, do we think we could try something in this area? Maybe we can tempt customers to come in and shop this area. So we're constantly exploring and evaluating and testing different products, different services to see where the demand might lie. Getting that balance can be difficult, and I think that's one of the core things we have to ensure as a business is, again, managing our profitability, but serving our customers well to ensure that somebody doesn't open up next door to us and give a better customer proposition.
You mentioned research. When you want to understand customer satisfaction, you want to understand customer needs, you want to project all this, you mentioned the word research. How detailed is this research and how frequent is it?
So very frequent. I would argue one of the biggest pieces of research actually we have is our till sales. If you looked at 2023, we had 87 million individual transactions. And, customers vote with their feet. If they, you can quickly track a customer, customers no longer shop with you. That's your biggest piece of insight. If your sales go down in a particular category for a particular product, again, that's a significant piece of insight. So that's actual data. That data doesn't lie. Those are customers, they're shopping with you or they're not shopping with you. But beyond that, we have an insights team. We have a very good insights team that regularly goes out into the market. That could be interviewing people who've just shopped with us. That could be interviewing people in the street and asking them various questions around what their habits are, what their preferences might be, why Naivas, why a different brand. And then we collate that and we use that research and our own data to inform decisions we make. And as you asked earlier, that might be where we should open a store, or that might be around pricing, or that might be around what products and services we should offer.
Please profile for us based on this research, an ordinary average Kenyan shopper, all right? What determines where they shop? What influences what they're buying? What influences what time they buy? What influences how much they spend?
So, we're living in very difficult economic times currently. I think a lot of people are struggling. If you look at our average transaction, it's about 1,200 shillings of people coming in. But of course, that's a very broad spread.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are spending 200, 300, 400 shillings with us. The key thing that informs people shopping with us, the everyday customer, will very much be driven around, of course, accessibility. Is the store convenient for me? Can I reach it quickly and without much hassle? Will I be served well? But let's be honest, right now, price is very important to the customer. So the customer needs to know when they come to us that they will get a very good value for money proposition that will keep some shillings in their pocket. And I think that's one of the areas that we spend a lot of time working on and trying to understand is how can we do that better to ensure that we can retain and attract those customers.
So what do you need to do to make sure that then you actually meet the customer at their price point?
It's around assortment. So, for example, one of the trends that we've seen during these harder economic times is people are buying smaller packet sizes. They can't afford maybe to buy the 5-litre cooking oil. They might buy a 3, 2 or 1-litre cooking oil. So it's to ensure that we have the product available, the right product, the right package size. But of course, when it comes to price, we have to work very hard every day to ensure that in our operations, the way that we source the products and ensuring we can cover our cost base we can give the customer that price. There's no point us coming up with a ridiculous price, but then we're out of business in 3 months' time. So we have to make sure that we get that balance right. And as I said earlier, that's a daily battle for us to try and win in that market. I think the other trend that you see very clearly is end-month shopping is very important in this market. So you asked me what time of day, what day of the week. What I would say is end month is really important, and ensuring that you serve the customer well at end month when people have some money in their pocket is really critical.
Has end month changed over years? For many, sometimes it used to be the 25th of the month. You'd find many people, public servants. Has it changed? Has it moved to the 5th of the next month?
I think, for us, the end month really starts on the 31st, first of the subsequent month. First, second. So if you take the weekend that's coming up, that's a good month-end weekend to focus on. People have definitely been paid at that point in time, and they'll definitely be going out, shopping and buying provisions for their families for the subsequent month.
Okay, let's take a break and then continue this conversation shortly. Our guest this morning is Andreas von Paleske. He is the Chief of Strategy at Naivas. We are talking about the strategy for Naivas Beyond 100. Tomorrow they are opening the 103rd branch countrywide. We call them Kikwetu. It's those branches across the country and what they do. How are they tailored towards the customers in that particular region? 103 of them, that's not a small thing. It's the first retailer in the country to hit that number. The first retailer in the region to actually hit that number. No mean feat. We'll be talking about that shortly. Keep it here. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's critical that people pay taxes. But then taxation has to have a limit. When you start overtaxing people beyond certain limit, then this is now we call robbery with violence.
We are all struggling, but we don't show. If you're not doing well, shame on you. But you have to say, I'm broke and I'm struggling. We are not okay until everybody is okay.
We are pretending to have political parties. Why don't we just be honest? And we say, these are the Luyas, these are the Kambas, these are the Kikuyus, and we find ourselves in Kenya.
With politics and leadership, no matter what you do, there will always be a complaint. There will always be the assumption that you're either stealing or you're not doing things right. As a leader, don't fear. If you know you're doing the right thing, you've thought about it, you've got an expert advice, do it, then understand later.
This country, we don't need prayers. Prayers is between you and God. Good governance and thinkers who care about the country and not their stomach.
Yes. That's what we need.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
If you want to know about scandals that expose the naked truth, what do? Talk to your pastor and see if he knows anything? Hit the coast and see who's skinny dipping in the hotel pool? None of the above. Because soon, the Nairobian will become the Nairobian Extra and give you TNX rated scandals live.
I've got a plan to make my investment sizzle hotter than a Sunday barbecue grill. ICEA Lion has a plan for everyone. Talk to us today for a plan that's right for you. Or visit icealion.co.ke. ICEA Lion, what's your plan?
All right, the weather forecast. It's a very, very cold day in Nairobi today. Well, 17. It's very cold. It's going to rise to 22 later today. Kakamega is also cold at 19, highs of 26. Mombasa is warm, mostly cloudy day at 27, highs of 33. Malindi, partly sunny at 28, highs of 33. Kisumu, cloudy day, highs of 27. Nakuru town, 17 degrees presently, highs of 22 later. Nyeri town, it's a cloudy day as well, highs of 24. Kampala, Uganda, cloudy, highs of 27. Kinshasa, mostly cloudy, highs of 34. Johannesburg, sunny, highs of 24. Lagos, mostly clear, highs of 34. Mogadishu, sunny at 33. Addis Ababa, mostly sunny day with highs of 25. Dar es Salaam, mostly sunny, highs of 33. Paris, currently 0 degrees, highs of 12 later. London, 7, highs of 11. New York, 11, highs of 15. And Beijing, cloudy, 6 degrees presently, highs of 8 and lows of -2.
Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever.
You're coming from Thika, you get to this place we call Outer Ring Road. Then you move all the way in heavy traffic up to Muthaiga roundabout, moving into Thika Road. No, this is Thika Road, so moving into Muthaiga, moving into Wangari Maathai Road. It's busy all the way to the highway. Jogoo Road is also very, very busy around the normal areas. This is Makadara, but it also clears. Landis Road is moving. Kangundo Road is busy just at the junction with Outer Ring Road. Outer Ring Road is also busy at Manyanja Junction. Mombasa Road is clear, but then it's busy at Nyayo Stadium roundabout. Langata Road into Nyayo Stadium. Aerodrome Road into Nyayo Stadium. Ngong Road is busy heading towards town. And in Westlands, there's some traffic in Westlands heading in towards town. This is at close to the entrance into the expressway. It's also quite busy. Nothing major to report. We don't know what's causing all this traffic. Well, it's peak traffic time, like what else? If there's any major incident that you need us to talk about, tag us on Twitter, tag us on X, tag us on Facebook and on YouTube, SpiceFM KE.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
In Kenya, correct? Naivas Supermarket is also the one that had 87 million transactions in all of 2023. That means that many people went once, twice, thrice. Many people went in to buy in all these stores. 102 stores presently. Tomorrow, 103rd store goes live. It means something. It means that people are going to shop because they need the essentials. But what Andreas von Paleski is telling us, he's the chief of strategy, is that they've got to understand the customer. And one of the things that you're seeing with the customer now is tough economic times. That means the basket size is reducing, average 1,200 per shopping. That also means that you have to also work with the customer, reduce the sizes so that then the customer can then buy the size that they can afford, but also work on the pricing. Working on pricing is not just a thing that you do by yourself. You have to talk to your suppliers because these are goods that you're selling that have been produced by somebody else. What are you doing? How are you dealing with the suppliers? And then also maybe your landlords and others to keep your costs low so that then you can transfer that benefit to us customers.
You know, it has to be a partnership. We have to work in a partnership because our business and our suppliers' businesses and our landlords have to be in a sustainable operation. So we can't look at it from a one-sided perspective and say we need to negotiate tougher and get a better price in isolation of a longer-term partnership. And that's what's really important to us as a business. Of course, ultimately, what holds us true is our customers. Our customers are coming to us or they're not coming to us. And if they're coming to us, the price has got to be right. But we have to ensure that we work in a professional manner. We, of course, negotiate hard, but we have to ensure that we work in a sustainable manner with all of our stakeholders to ensure that we're not just here today, tomorrow, but for the subsequent years.
You know, the retention of customers, especially in the face of competition, because if I look at my understanding of supermarkets from a historical perspective, never in the history of this country have we had so many supermarkets in the country. But also of interest, entrance into the supermarket space from supermarket chains that are not local, like this one is. So it tells us that there is business to be had. However, that you're opening branches and that their customer tells you that those who shop at Naivas are happy with what they're getting. Otherwise, then they wouldn't come back. They would have stopped coming. The question Eric asked, I want to dovetail on it. You have this ecosystem and you have what you call the supplier. Not just the person whom you see who supplies you, but the person who produces it. It is a discussion we've had in this country for a long time, whether we're talking about cash crops like coffee or tea, they always seem to get the short end of the stick when it comes to any business. How do you ensure that the good governance principles that you spoke of is ensured when dealing with them? Because some of them are small-scale business people.
I think if we step back and we look at the future growth of Kenya, small and medium-sized enterprises are very important to the growth. And I think they are very important to us as a business. It's always a battle, is a business big enough to supply us? Because yes, you have small businesses, but you also need to have a certain scale to be able to supply a business that's got 103 stores. So, of course, in some cases, that might be small-scale farmers, but they might only be supplying a few branches in a particular area. In some cases, that's a bigger business that's supplying us countrywide. I think we, as a business, are very sensitive to the needs of our suppliers, and in terms of how they manage their business. I think we try and genuinely, and I mean this when I say it, create partnerships with our suppliers. But of course, from our operations perspective, we also need to ensure that the suppliers we deal with can serve us continuously, because we need to ensure that we have the product on the shelf every day, not just one day here and the next day it's not there. So it's a constant evolution, is what I would say. What I would say looking forward, though, and I think this is something that's very important to the business and to me, is we do want to work more closely with smaller suppliers, up-and-coming businesses, not just to have them as business partners, but actually also to undertake training. Because I think a lot of people want to supply you as a supermarket, but the reality is, do they understand what it takes in terms of their own capabilities, in terms of whether that's governance, whether that's their supply chain? And I think a place where we as a business can play a much bigger role, and I'm very excited that we will be doing that, is, as I say, not just to onboard different suppliers, but actually to train small-scale suppliers in terms of what it takes. And I think that's where we can play a big role in helping those businesses grow. Because if you think about the broader macroeconomic growth, if we can help those smaller suppliers grow, employ more people, become more professional, become sustainable, ultimately we will win as a retail business, because we will have better suppliers supplying us, but of course we will have a much bigger impact in the economy.
So how will you do that? How will you raise the capacity of the small-scale suppliers?
In partnership. So the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, for example, is very keen to partner with us to develop that with some of their members. We can't do this on our own, but what we can certainly do is reach out through other umbrella organizations. Of course, we have many suppliers coming to approach us, but we need to make sure we do it in a manner that is achievable. We can't do it one-on-one, but I think in partnership with umbrella organizations, we can absolutely reach out to a broader set of suppliers and share with them our experiences, and of course learn also what's happening on the ground in terms of up-and-coming suppliers, in terms of new products, etc., being launched.
Juakali associations and such would also fall into this, would it?
I think you have to. I agree. We wouldn't draw the line anywhere. I think what's important for us is, again, I keep coming back to it, is, are we serving the customer well? Do we have on the shelf what the customer wants? Because otherwise they'll go somewhere else. But I think, as part of that, we are constantly innovating and trying to understand, are there new products that we should launch? There might be a more niche organic proposition, for example, whatever it may be. And ensuring that we develop that, even if they can't supply us today, maybe in 2 or 3 years' time they could. So I think that's a very important role that we can play. You asked me about research earlier, because of course we can also play back to those organizations, to those individuals, to the entrepreneurs. And Kenya is a very entrepreneurial country. What customers want. We have a very rich database that we can also share with those individuals to guide them in terms of perhaps what they should be doing.
Many of the complaints that we've heard from many suppliers into supermarket chains is the power play. The supermarket chain operates like it has more power and more leverage, and then the supplier is the small person in this equation. And they feel that they sometimes get bullied or shortchanged into the relationship that they have. One, the supermarket will dictate the payment terms. The supermarket will dictate the credit period. The supermarket will keep changing the quality standards without notice. So this time you're supplying this and you said, I want your mangoes to come in green. And then next time I'm bringing the green mangoes and you say, no, we want our mangoes yellow from tomorrow. And I already have been sourcing for the green mango. So how do you make sure that you create a sort of a balanced relationship between you and your critical stakeholder was a supplier?
I used the word partnership earlier, and I think for us it is genuinely a partnership. We don't dictate terms as a business. Of course, we have needs as a business, whether that's the product, whether that's a particular price point that customers demand of us. But these are always negotiations with our suppliers to ensure that we get to the right point. Of course, many people want to trade with us because we're large. Equally, we rely on a lot of those products. It's not a one-sided relationship. We, of course, need to have those products on the shelf. I'm not sure we change the color of the mangoes. I think what's important for us is, do we have those mangoes on the shelf every day so that the customer coming to shop with us has that availability? That's really important, for us. Of course, we're on a journey. We want to get better as a business. As part of that, we have to involve our suppliers. And it's not just a price discussion, it's a continuous discussion that ultimately always comes back to the customer. But I'd like to think that from a Naivas perspective, we are very professional in how we interact with suppliers, that we negotiate, I think, on fair terms to ensure that we can deliver on our price promise.
How do you ensure quality? And here I'm talking about just the food business, because you've gone big on food, whether it's fresh vegetables, whether it's a fresh meat or meats, whether fresh milk. How do you ensure quality and traceability of the same to the source?
So in those categories, of course, when you come and shop in our butchery, for example, if you come and shop in our fruit and veg department, and I'd really encourage you to do that, to see the quality of what we have on offer. But when you buy those products are Naivas products to you. It doesn't have some other supplier's name on it. Of course, a farmer has grown that product. Of course, that cow has come from somewhere. But when you buy those products, those are Naivas products. Which, of course, means that we have to ensure when you take those products home and you cook them or you eat them, that they are safe for consumption and that you are happy with the quality of what you're being offered. So actually, in those areas of our stores, we take that quality point even more seriously. One, of course, it's a bigger risk area, but also because it's our brand that people are walking out of the stores with. And so we undertake regular food safety audits in all of our stores to ensure that day in, day out, not just from receiving when, of course, we inspect the quality, but also in terms of our product handling, in terms of the cold chain, that we are managing those products to ensure that we deliver a very good quality to our customers.
A couple of years ago, I think 1 or 2 years ago, so there was the development of a standard of quality for fresh foods. And if I remember correctly, the big retailers are also part of the development of this product, of this safety standard. Is it still in effect? And how does it go backwards to the farmer, to the supplier?
I think, candidly, there's more that could be done to standardize, and maybe also for different business to cooperate on that front. We don't look at that quality from an industry perspective. We look at it from a would I buy this product perspective. Would I bring this product home to my family? That's the litmus test for us. That's the standard that we hold ourselves true to ensure that, well, if we would, then of course our customers would.
One of the things, though, that from my point of view stands out when one goes shopping, not just at Naivas but as a supermarket, is the customer care. How you're approached. If you seem to be lingering over some stall, somebody comes and asks if you can be assisted.
Yes.
But more importantly, also telling you, well, beyond this, we can also offer you this and this and this. Does Naivas have a specific training that they offer the people who work within them? And how do you standardize them, and how do you ensure that that quality of customer care is maintained throughout your outlet, so that when I go to this supermarket, it is the same. If I go to another one, it is the same.
It's to ensure that standardization across is challenging, is what I would say. To answer your question, yes, we do offer training. In fact, I think as a business, I'll come back to your customer service point, but I think as a business, from an employee perspective, what we are very focused on is not just creating jobs, but is creating careers. So that if you join the business as a shelf stocker, for example, you have the opportunity to progress from that. So it's not just that you are well trained in that particular role. So yes, we do. We have customer service weeks. We invest a lot in the training of our staff. But actually what's even more important to me is that we allow people to progress from those roles, because I think that's when we can have a very big impact in society, But equally, of course, our business benefits. If we bring great people into the business, we train them up. That ultimately allows us to progress, to have better trained, better talent in our stores, to allow us to continuously evolve as a business and better serve the customer. So training as a broader topic is very important to us, not just on customer service, which of course is critical, but across the board.
Consumer associations are important. They have a place even in the constitution in this country. How do you engage with consumer associations? How do you make sure that as you are dealing with your customers and everybody else, that you are able to then address concerns that emanate immediately from customers, either directly and maybe even linking up with consumer associations to help in training consumers, to help in creating more awareness to consumers on how to even do shopping?
I think before you even get to consumer associations, I think I said earlier, Kenyan customers are very demanding. I think in this country, whether it's over social media or other forms, if a customer is unhappy with the service that they've gotten or the product they've gotten, they let you know very quickly.
Yeah.
I would argue much more so than in many other markets, which I find really interesting. So for us, it's not just engaging with consumer associations, where of course we have dialogues with all sorts of umbrella organizations regularly. We get feedback from them, we have discussions with them, but it's making sure our fingers on the pulse with the customer. Because they might go through a consumer association, but they might also come directly to us, or just go on X or various other platforms and let people know what they felt about the service, good or bad. So that broader, I think, interaction with the customer is really critical to our business.
Are you finding that Kenyans are becoming more and more aware of health? In other markets where people they want to go to an organic store because it sells organic stuff, or they want to enter into this supermarket and there's a corner that sells purely organic and advertised and packed as organic. Is that a trend that's happening in Kenya, or is it going to come?
I think health focus, absolutely. That's been a trend that's been going on for a while, and I think there is an increasing awareness around various aspects, and diet is, of course, an important contributor to that. So very much so, and we see that in our business. I think on organic, one has to be careful because different definitions are used in different markets. What I would say is actually the quality of produce that's grown locally is of a very high standard, and so I think in many ways that organic aspect has already been dealt with. But equally, we can't forget pricing. It's all very well to say, this chicken's been reared in certain conditions, or this particular tomato's been grown in certain conditions. That's great, but if I can't afford to pay for that to feed my family, that becomes a problem. So for us, I think it comes back again to quality and ensuring that we offer customers a very high quality, but a value for money proposition. That's really important to us.
Naivas is a high generator of waste, I'm sure. Many of the things that will be found in your store at some point will end up as waste. What's the strategy for waste management?
So we track waste very closely in our business because, of course, waste is a cost to our business. Any item that we might buy that we can't sell, that impacts our bottom line. So we try and track that very, very closely to ensure that in terms of how we order products, right? We try and order enough so that there's availability on the shelf, but not so much so that we have to throw half of it away. So it's as with many things in our business, and that's one particular aspect, it's around the close management and tracking of those areas to ensure that we can manage it. We'll never get it down to zero, but of course, we look to manage that particular cost as best we can.
And when something has become waste, what do you do with it? You have to dispose it.
When something is no longer fit for consumption, for human consumption, we have to dispose it. And I think it's right that we do, and I think it's important that we do it properly because, of course, there's always a risk. If you don't do it properly, it finds its way back into the food chain. And so we're very, very focused on that because that is a danger to customers who might ultimately come across it. So we take that particular aspect very seriously. There is, of course, a topic around, an item might no longer be sellable to customers or customers don't want to buy that item, but it's still safe for consumption. I would say there is an opportunity for us and other businesses in the market to do more on that front, and we haven't cracked that yet.
Have you cracked the loyalty card? Would you say your loyalty card is a lot more attractive than other loyalty cards, so that when I, being an individual who has one such loyalty card, would feel that it is in my interest to shop more at Naivas because the reward I get from this is infinitely better. And the research you've done, has it shown you that if the loyalty card is attractive, then it then acts as an incentive for someone to actually come and shop with you more?
So our loyalty card is very, very popular. With around 3.5 million loyalty members, we have a very large loyalty card. When you look at spending patterns, our loyalty card customers spend more than customers who don't have a loyalty card. So it tells you something about maybe the loyalty and the affinity that we've created with those individuals. And when you look at the redemptions that you can get in terms of the points that you've earned and where you can spend it, again, it's a very popular scheme with our customers. Over time, we will do more. I think it is watch this space over the next 12 months or so. There is more that we would like to do with our loyalty card to reward customers who come and shop with us. But certainly currently, if we look at the numbers, we think it's a pretty popular scheme.
Loyalty is it's a global thing.
It is.
All airlines, supermarkets, whoever, they'll have this sort of a loyalty program. Safaricom has one. We keep talking about it all the time, right? But what is it about the loyalty? I mean, what's the strategy for creating a loyalty program? What's actually the goal? Is it to just keep enticing me that, if you shop here, you'll get to 20 points, accumulate those points, and one day we will tell you how you can redeem them?
Firstly, you can redeem your points at any time, which is very important to our customers. Look, I think first of all, what we have to get right as a business, we have to make sure we have a proposition that brings people to our stores. A loyalty scheme is not really worth very much unless people have something to come to our stores with. But the idea behind the loyalty scheme really is to say, well, if you're coming to shop with us, let's reward you so that on future purchases, on future shopping trips, you can get some money off. So it's really building that two-way relationship between ourselves and our customers, saying, well, you're already coming to our stores. There's obviously something that we are getting right to bring you here. Of course, we would like you to keep coming back to us. And here is a reward to entice you to come back to us. That's effectively a reward on top of the everyday pricing. You don't have to have a loyalty card to purchase products in our stores. Of course, everybody has access to that pricing. This is really something on top to say, thank you for shopping with us. Please come back.
Every time I go shopping, I realize that it's actually a fairly interesting experience, even if I don't want to buy very much. I get to familiarize myself with things ordinarily I wouldn't familiarize myself with. Now, again, research and how it is. You mentioned it in passing, but I want you to go into a little more details. What is the thinking about the layout that you have in your stores? Because my experience is that it's important. There's something about it that makes you want to simply even just walk around it and see.
Very important.
Maybe they hide the critical items. They know you like so put milk on this end, put bread on that end.
So you have no choice but to walk across.
To navigate the store. There is some of that. But if you look at a Naivas food market today, and I think both of you have been to those stores.
Yes.
Our format, the way that the ambience that we look to create, the look and the feel, starting for example with fruit and veg at the entrance to the store, is very different to a Naivas 5, 6, 7 years ago. And there is a method behind that. There's a reason we're doing that. Is we want to make the experience more experiential. We want the customer to really have a bit of a fun experience as they're shopping, because of course doing your weekly and monthly grocery shopping can be a mundane experience. It's not always that exciting. I think everybody has more exciting things that they'd like to do, but it's really one to of course demonstrate the quality of what we have. So when we're showing you great tomatoes or great skuma wiki at the entrance, that's giving you an image of what we as a business stand for. But it's also to make the experience a bit more exciting, to make it fun. And of course, ideally, to get you to pick up a few more items in your basket.
Somebody's asking, what measures do you have in place to help SMEs, that's the small traders, get a listing on Naivas? What's the onboarding process?
So reach out to us. We have a portal where you can register as a supplier, and we have an email address. And I'd like to think that we respond to queries in a timely manner. But you asked me the question earlier also, what more can we do? We want to do more to help SMEs. that isn't just around listing, as I was saying earlier, that is also around, well, actually, what does it take to supply a retailer? But to answer the question that's being asked explicitly, reach out to us, tell us what you have. I think one of the key things, I think on this program, I've spoken a lot about customer focus, because of course the customer is what holds us true. I can come up with very interesting strategies, but if the customer doesn't shop those strategies with us, that's for the bin. I would push the same thing to anybody who wants to supply us. Have a really strong proposition as to why customers want to buy your product. Is it just another Me Too product, or actually does it have something different that Kenyans might really want? And bringing that out as you pitch to us, I think that's what's really important, because ultimately that helps us do our job better, because we keep coming back to the customer.
Okay.
Somebody asked one question. We are actually coming to the end of the hour. Food bank.
Yep.
Collaborating with the county governments where you're in to create food banks for those who are clean.
Is that an idea that you have?
That's an idea that we have, and I think that's something that we can and should do more of. You asked me the question about waste earlier. I think it goes to the same point.
Yep.
Do we have products that there's two different aspects to it. Can we do more to help the community? Yes, we have a lot of CSR outreach programs as a business, but specifically, is there an opportunity to utilize products that are still safe for consumption, but maybe our customers don't want, and collaborate with government and NGOs? Absolutely, and I'd like to take that forward.
Thank you. Andreas von Poleski, thank you very much for joining us. Andreas is the Chief of Strategy at Naivas. He's been our guest talking about the strategy beyond the 100. Keep it here for more. Good morning. It's 9 a.m.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga. The owner of the Embakasi gas plant and 3 NEMA officials will be arraigned back in court today. The 4 will appear before Principal Magistrate Dolphina Elego for further directions following the lapse of 21 days of detention. They were detained on February 7th after the prosecution requested time to complete investigations on cases of murder, conspiracy to commit a felony, negligent act and abuse of office. The plant owner Derek Kimathi and NEMA officials Joseph Makau and Marian Kioko were detained at Embakasi Police Station. The third suspect, David Ongare, was held at Capitol Hill Police Station for fewer days with a maximum of 14 days owing to his medical condition. Police officers in Nyamira County are searching for a 25-year-old man who allegedly killed his 2.5-year-old son in Eronge village. Police say Ezekiel Kimomi had separated from his wife about 1 month ago following a domestic dispute. The man thereafter went to the wife's home and took away the toddler, later killing him and leaving his naked body on the bed. Heavy rains that pounded Nairobi and other places last evening caused destruction and traffic snarl-ups in some parts of the country. On Thika Road, for instance, rains accompanied by hailstorms and winds wrecked a billboard at Mountain Mall near the Embakasi Club Garden City. Images shared by social media users shows fallen trees blocking some roads around the city, with some at the airport claiming some flights had been delayed. The Meteorological Department on Monday issued an alert warning of heavy rains in Nairobi and other parts of the country that would exceed 20 millimeters in intensity. Interior Principal Secretary Raymond Omolo says the government has put in place efforts to strengthen security agencies in addressing emerging challenges. Omolo said some of them include training programs, supplying crucial equipment, and sharing strategic intelligence, all aimed at enhancing counter-terrorism measures and combating transnational crime. Omolo emphasized the pivotal role played by UN agencies as well as the support from the United States and the United Kingdom in bolstering these initiatives. 31 people have died after a bus flipped over and plunged off a bridge in Mali. The bus had been en route to neighboring Burkina Faso from the Malian town of Keneba when it veered off a bridge crossing the Bago River. At least 10 others were injured, some suffering serious injuries. Local officials said the likely cause was the driver's failure to control the vehicle. 2 candidates for mayor of the central Mexican town of Maravatia were killed just hours apart, according to Prosecutor's Office of the State. Armando Perez of the Conservative National Action Party, that is PAN, and Miguel Reyes from the ruling left-leaning party, Morena, were both found dead in their personal vehicles, having suffered gunshot wounds. Both candidates were set to run in the elections on June 2nd. And finally, political advisor to President William Ruto, Karisa Nzai, has criticized leaders in the coast region who've been sabotaging various development projects that the government aims to implement. Speaking in Kilifi County, Nzai said he'll not accept this to be done, considering that every Kenyan should benefit from the projects.
Area zingine watu wanafikiria wana sabotage serikali. Hawezi kuisabotage. I will be there. Mimi nitakuja hata kwa hiyo constituency, nitamobilize wa mama, nitawasaidia wajiform group na nitawatengenezea sako yao na serikali itawasupport. So wewe kama utakuwa uko hapo na nungunika tu sijui unataka nini, hiyo saa itabaki yako. Lakini sisi tunataka kuleta Wakenya pamoja na tushirikiane na maendeleo, na tutazungumza na watu wetu. Kama 2027 watatujudge na matendo yetu, ndiposa kumreelect president, kumrudisha tena rais. Ni kwa sababu ya kazi nzuri ambayo sisi tunaenda kuambia watu wake wanayopaswa kufanya.
That's the news wire. I'm Lea Ubaga.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It's still looking really, really bad on the Thika Superhighway, but it's improved. So the traffic is now all the way to KSMS or KCA University, heading towards town. Wangari Maathai Road is improving. Mombasa, not Mombasa Road, but Waiyaki Way heading out, and this is onto Westlands, is also busy. Waiyaki Way, Westlands heading towards town is busy. Around Westlands, the road is quite tight. And also, it's the same situation on Limuru Road. It's the same situation on Gong Road getting into town through Pan-Afric. It's the same situation on Jogoo Road heading towards town. It's now getting to build up on Landis Road. It's still busy on Aerodrome Road. It's still busy on Jogoo Road. It's still busy now at Ngara heading towards town. It's busy everywhere, but you know what? It's among those last dying minutes of peak traffic time.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
Ecobank and what Ecobank is able to do to help you as a business, run a business across the continent, or even interact with other partner businesses across the continent. If you are a business operator,